Welcome back to the FPL deadline stream. This time out of Gameweek 27, I have made my transfer already just before the price rises. I bought in Heung-min Son, and it seems like everyone has done the same. So maybe I just need to be a bit different from now on. But I still have a glaring issue at the back, which could force me into taking a -4 hit, and I am open to buying Gabriel to really target this week and potentially Gameweek 28, and the alternative is probably Senesi or another Bournemouth defender with their double in Gameweek 28 and a decent fixture this week against Burnley away. So there's a lot to consider. I think I will end up taking a -4 hit. I will be doing the transfer on stream. I'm putting out a poll very shortly. That's the only poll related to my own team I'm going to put out. The rest I encourage you to leave in the live chat any kind of ideas for polls, and I'll show you some that I've already put out on my channel, such as the best captaincy options. It's quite close between Saka and Erling Haaland. I'm currently going for the Norwegian robot. He scored a hat-trick against Manchester United last season at the Etihad, and in the reverse fixture this season, he scored a brace at Old Trafford. So let's see how it all pans out. It's going to be a very close call. Even Heung-min Son can't be underestimated this week. So let's go straight into your questions. It's great to see so many of you here already. Rowan says, sell Hwang Hee-chan to Maddison or Foden. Look, I don't want to sit on the fence here because ultimately this week I do prefer Foden, but if you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29, I think the simple answer is Maddison, because Foden's next 5 fixtures aren't that good, while Spurs' are much more appealing on paper. They feature in blank Gameweek 29, so I think the simple answer is, if you're not free hitting in Gameweek 29, definitely go for Maddison. Venom says, hello Dylan, good to see you again. Likewise, Venom. Would you recommend getting in Solanke for a hit and bench Douglas Luiz, or just start Douglas without taking a hit? I plan to bring in Solanke next week anyway, if not now. I'm not a big fan of Douglas Luiz in away games, and that's something that put me off, and in the end I went for Hwang Hee-chan. The rest is history. But I'd probably just stick with what you have and play Douglas Luiz this week. If he gets a penalty, a great chance of a return and some bonus points, because he is a machine in terms of attracting those bonus points. So I think in your situation, especially with Solanke still being doubtful for this week, my preference will be to keep Douglas Luiz, avoid the -4 hit, and just bring Solanke in next week. Omar says, hello Dylan, what do you think about Hwang to Saka and De Bruyne to Son for a -4, or should I just make one transfer? Hwang to Saka, just keep it simple. You could even just go to Son, but I wouldn't sell De Bruyne this week. I covered this in the transfer tips video. Unless we get a leak that De Bruyne is benched, keep De Bruyne this week. You can always sell him in Gameweek 28 or 29, but if he starts against Manchester United, I think he's a great captaincy option. Cylindra says, hey Dylan, on the wild card, which one to get between Zabani and Kirkes, and start just one of the Bournemouth defenders, or Region, or a doggy as my third defender? In terms of the Bournemouth defenders, I don't think there's much to split them. My slight preference maybe would be with Kirkes, but yeah, ultimately I think Senesi is by far the best option because he's got the goal threat and he's a bit more of a bonus points machine as a result. But yeah, I think Kirkes would be my answer. And start one of the Bournemouth defenders, or the others, yeah, I'd go for a Bournemouth defender this week. And should I buy Morris and my third forward and sell Haaland next game for Solanke, or go for Solanke and have Barkley as my 5th midfielder? I'd rather go for Barkley as a 5th midfielder and keep Erling Haaland, if possible. That also depends on your plan for Gameweek 29 and Gameweek 30, of course. Between Bowen, Kudus and Bailey, which one should I buy and start on my 4th midfielder? This week, my favourite is Bailey. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that Luton fixture looks very appealing. My issue with Bailey is later down the line in Gameweek 29, for example, when you most need him. He could be benched in that game week and you have Diaby starting with the Europa Conference League also coming into play. So I think Bailey's the best to buy right now. But when you're also looking at someone who's just going to be nailed on, start every single game, no issues whatsoever, I think Bowen is the safest pick, and I do prefer him over Kudus. Chelsea's finish puts his team. My team is Dubravka, Gabriel, Pau, Estupinian, Saka, Son, Bailey, Bowen, Watkins, Haaland, and Solanke, thinking about doing Estupinian to Saliba and Solanke to Semenyo if he's out. I wouldn't sell Solanke either way. I believe he will be available for Gameweek 28 no matter what. And if he is fit, if there's no risk of an injury, for example, for today, I think he definitely starts. There's no question about it. So it's down to those late fitness tests, as Iraola said yesterday. So I wouldn't sell Solanke. Estupinian to Saliba, I think it's a no-brainer. I would do it. Darwin out, Watkins in, -4. Now, Darwin is potentially available for this game. He could even start against Nottingham Forest. He did very well in the reverse fixture. So as much as I like Watkins, it might be just the wrong time to do it. Will Darwin start? I believe so, but that's just my opinion. I have nothing inside or anything like that. But yeah, I believe Darwin will start. and even if he doesn't, I think he gets a cameo off the bench, and that could be enough for a haul. But ultimately, the -4 hit for Watkins will pay off. It's just a matter of timing and maybe delaying it by one more week if you can. Morning, Dylan. Have a great stream. Thank you, Zenzone. Any positive news on Solanke catching a start? This dumb drum took a -4. I said dumb drum, by the way. Son was the other transfer in. Well, Solanke actually could feature. There were some reports, I think someone else mentioned it, that Solanke could feature today, and it all depends on the late fitness test, and if there's no risk of injury, he's definitely going to start. So it's looking a bit more positive, but it's still not a guarantee. I'm very sure he's going to start in Game Week 28, which is the most important thing, and for Game Week 27, if you're asking me right now, I think Solanke does start. Richarlison to Son for a -4 worth it? Yes. Richarlison could also miss Game Week 29, so that reduces the appeal of Richarlison dramatically, and Son is arguably the best midfielder in the game over the next 4 game weeks. Hey Dylan, good to see you, Pedro. Ryan says, hi Dylan, bit of a benching headache. Would you start Diaz or Alvarez? That is tricky, but I'd go for Alvarez. Assuming he starts. Of course, if you get a league that he doesn't, I'd then switch to Diaz. Hey Dylan, great live as always. Thank you very much, mate. My question, if I want another captain than Haaland and I have Foden, Watkins or Saka or Martinelli, Saka for me. Now, one thing I want to do in future live streams is introduce like a captaincy ranking which appears on screen, so that will answer a lot of the questions posed in. But if I had to do kind of a rough top 5 right now, it'd be Haaland first, Saka second, I'd probably put Heung-min Son third, then Watkins 4th and Foden 5th. That's my rough kind of ranking. If De Bruyne starts, he could even shoot up into the top 4, but overall, that's probably my top 6 off the top of my head. Anyone here going for Saka captaincy? I'm sure there is going to be plenty, as I'll show you very soon with some of the polls I put out. Gary says Starboy, or I'm not even going to say the other thing. The way you present it, I'd definitely say Starboy, but I'm ultimately captaining Haaland at the moment. That could change. I think there's a few changes I could make, not just that. So Dubravka versus Areola, that's something I have changed since the team selection video, and I'm 50-50 on it. Most people have voted for Areola, and that's understandable. The other thing that could change is the captaincy. It's Saka or Haaland, that's definitely for sure. And then making a -4 hit for one of my defenders. So potentially buying Gabriel, Senesi, or another Bournemouth defender, because I don't trust Estupinian to start. Lascelles doesn't even get any minutes, and Pedro Porro is most likely out for this week, and he could return for Game Week 28. Yogesh says Alvarez and Hwang to Son and Morris -4. Have to take -4 for funds, and also have no bench except Estupinian. Yeah, overall, I would make the moves. The only issue with that is Alvarez. If he does start, he has a good chance of doing well against Manchester United. But overall, the transfers should pay off. Thank you, Pedro. What do you think Gross would play? But leave Neto to deal with. Neto would be benched because of Solanke to Son or Ake to Bournemouth defender. I wouldn't do Ake to a Bournemouth defender necessarily. I think Man City could even keep a clean sheet this week. In terms of your transfer plans, Gross has been incredible recently. It's difficult to depart with a player who's been that consistent. And in terms of bonus points machine, I do say that a lot, but Gross is the definition of that. You know, he might not even get an attack in return, and he can get 2 free bonus points very easily in a 0-0 draw. But I think overall, it's a tricky one. I would start Gross. If you could do Neto to Son, I actually would do it. I like Neto as a player, but Son is a far better FPL asset. So if you are able to do that, Neto to Son is my recommendation. E.G. Ryan says bench 1 for Son to start. Solanke, Palmer, Odegaard, Foden, Watkins, Haaland, Saka. Extremely difficult, to be quite honest with you. It might be inevitable almost. Whoever you bench could easily haul. Haaland and Foden should definitely start. Same with Saka. Then it comes down to, or even Watkins, to be fair. A really tricky decision. Based on the yellow flag, I think Solanke is what most people would suggest, and I understand that. But you know what? For me, it's between Solanke and Odegaard to bench. And I don't like benching Odegaard away to Sheffield United, but he can have a great game and not get any attacking returns, and that's my problem with him. Who to bench out? Douglas Luiz, Bowen, Tony, and Palmer, says Lager. I would actually bench Douglas Luiz this week. He's not that good away from home. He's only produced in 2 away games this season. At Villa Park, though, he averages almost 10 points per game. So if the fixture is at Villa Park, you know what my answer would be. He would definitely start. But yeah, in this scenario, I would bench Douglas Luiz. Senesi in my team, 12-point haul incoming. The thing with Senesi, actually, and I might end up buying him, to be quite honest with you, he also got called up to the Argentinian national team. The list was revealed yesterday, so that also kind of adds to his appeal for me. It makes no sense, of course, but I do see him getting one big return over the next 3, and that already pays off any potential hit you may take. In your case, I think you got him for free. Nunez must play after his high jump at Cup. Yeah, I saw that. Look, I think he's going to start, but even if he doesn't, I'm very confident he's going to be in the squad and get a cameo and potentially do something off the bench. Thank you, Zenzone. Much appreciated. Is Kirkez nailed? I believe so at this moment in time. Before his injury, he was actually starting every single game for Bournemouth. So, look, Senesi is probably my favourite in general, but Kirkez should be good enough to start the next 3 games, that's for sure. And also, one big appeal about Bournemouth defenders is their fixture in Gameweek 30. When Arsenal play Man City, you've got Everton at home for Bournemouth, and that's a decent chance of a clean sheet, although the big problem is Bournemouth defensively. They're not really that trustworthy. But I believe over the last 6 game weeks, they're actually in the top 4 in terms of defensive stats. So, that's quite encouraging to say the least. Hello, Dylan. Transfer Senesi for Estupinian? Yeah, I actually might do that same transfer myself, Jamie. So, yeah, ultimately, I'd say yes. Just be aware of Senesi. He's got 8 yellow cards. If he gets booked this week, he's walking the tightrope. And if he gets booked yet again against Sheffield United, he's going to miss the second game of double Gameweek 28. So, from that perspective, you might consider Kirkez, Zabani, or another Bournemouth defender. But I would still risk it with Senesi because I think the difference between him and the rest is quite considerable, especially if he does score a goal, which he has done plenty of times this season. Omar says, best time to free hit Gameweek 29, right? Team dependent. I don't want to sit on the fence with this, but the way I break it down is if you can't get to, let's say, 6, 7 plus players in Gameweek 29, and also it's not about quantity, of course, it's about the quality of players. So if you can't cover Tony, Son, Bowen, for example, Watkins, and you're really struggling to get the numbers, you need to take massive hits. In that scenario, I would play the free hit in Gameweek 29. But if you already have 6, 7 players now, and you can get to 8 or 9, I'd save the free hit for later in the season. Bench Palmer or Darwin? I'd still bench Darwin, but I have a sneaky feeling he's going to do something this week. But I think Palmer against Brentford, who've got their entire backline injured. Ben Mee, yesterday it was reported that he's going to be out for, I think, the rest of the season, if not for a very long time. So I think Palmer would be my preference, but that's not to say Darwin isn't a bad option this week. Dom must start. Fair enough. I might be wrong about that. It's a tricky one this week. A lot of benching dilemmas with these structures of 5 midfielders and 3 forwards. That's always the issue with such a structure. Havertz, he's been playing well recently, but I wouldn't go for him FPL-wise. He might do really well this week, but I don't back him to then, carry this on against Brentford and then in Gameweek 30 against Man City. So I think with Havertz, the answer would be no. I'd rather go for 2 Arsenal defenders in Saliba and Gabriel, and also go for Saka, of course. I'm starting Neto as my goalkeeper. Should I double up and start my Bournemouth defender or start a doggy? I think from this perspective, I would go for a doggy. Now, it can work both ways, right? If Bournemouth get a clean sheet, you've got a massive differential there with 2 Bournemouth defensive coverage this week. But I'm backing Burnley to score, to be honest. And if you are buying a Bournemouth defender this week, it's really for double Gameweek 28, to be honest. Let's see. So I do appreciate all the questions. I do apologize if I can't get to every single one of them, but I will try. And by the end of the stream, that will be the aim. Start Doughty or Aït-Nouri. I would go for Doughty. I don't expect either of them to keep a clean sheet. You're really relying on attacking potential. Yeah, it's a really tricky one, actually. And I might even switch my opinion there later on. Bench Darwin over Palmer, yes. Richarlison for Son, best replacement for Hwang Hee-chan, 5.6 million budget, 0. Yeah, Richarlison for Son, great transfer. I like that. Best replacement for Hwang Hee-chan. If you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29, then I think Bailey or Douglas Luiz are definitely up there. Assuming they're still at that price, by the way. I'm going to double check that. Don't want to give you the wrong information. So yeah, Douglas Luiz is 5.6 and Bailey is 5.6. Yeah, that's my answer then. Very easy. If you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29, I think that just boosts their appeal even further. Douglas Luiz is more nailed on. He's on penalties, bonus points machine. Bailey's a bit more exciting. I'd argue he's in better form. And what I like about him over Luiz is that both home and away he can produce, whilst Douglas Luiz is pretty much a home merchant. Now watch him do well this week, but still, my point does stand. Thanks for the input. Got Senesi and Son for a -4. Yeah, that could end up being my transfers this week, to be honest. It does seem like a lot of people are making the same moves, but sometimes a transfer is so obvious. If you can do Hwang Hee-chan to Son, why wouldn't you do it? The only issue I have is that it means benching Gordon, who has only blanked once this season at St James's Park in the Premier League. Is Pedro Porro playing? No, it doesn't look like it. Ange Postecoglou said that Porro is probably another week away. Udogie actually has a chance of featuring because he's been training, and Richarlison is out for 2 to 3 weeks. Those are the main updates since my last FPL video. Start Dubravka or Kelleher? I'd actually go for Kelleher, but once again, and I'm going to say this for a lot of scenarios this week, I don't expect many clean sheets in Gameweek 27. I think Arsenal is probably the most likely on paper. Solanke is 50-50. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be down to a late fitness test, and it ultimately depends if there's any risk of aggravating the injury. And I think Areola said that it depends on Solanke. He's going to determine whether he's going to play or not, and whether he feels pain, and that will be the determining factors. Start 2 of Palmer, Foden, and Bowen. I'd start Palmer and Foden and bench Bowen, which is tricky. He just scored a hat-trick, but yeah, I think I'd go for the other 2. Douglas Luiz or Bailey? For this week, definitely Bailey. Considering Game Week 29 as well, which is another away fixture, I'd probably still go for Luiz just because I do have, in the back of my mind, a little bit of a doubt about Bailey starting all of the games in the Premier League coming up, and you might need him for all of those matches. Milner says, for blank Game Week 29, do you think 8 players, Son, Borro, Bowen, Tony, Watkins, Doughty, Powell, Areola for a -4 is good? Yes, I think that's enough to save the free hit for later in the season. Kivior or Bradley? I'd go for Kivior this week, but I do like Bradley. He should start as well. I do like that. Worth doing Barkley to Son, to then bench Solanke. I have 1 free transfer. I'm thinking about using free hit Game Week 29. It is worth it, but my only problem with it is that Barkley doubles next week, and he's been in great form. He got a brace of assists against Manchester City, and that assist for the second goal, by the way, is pure quality. And even from Game Week 15 when he played against Arsenal, Barkley really caught my eye, and even before that he had signs of a revival under Rob Edwards, so really impressed by him. I'd maybe consider moving another midfielder instead, purely because Barkley has a double next week, but apart from that, yeah, Son is an upgrade, there's no denying that. What's your opinion about Senesi? I think he's the best Bournemouth defender. My only concern is the 8 yellow cards, but I think he will go through Game Week 28 and 29 without the 2 yellow cards. The issue is, if he picks up a yellow, let's say in Game Week 28, and then 1 for the second game of 29, he's going to miss that game, in Game Week 28, then he's going to miss that game in 30 against Everton, where you might need him because you might have Estupinian, Pedro Porro, Saliba, Ake, like I do. And that isn't ideal for that week. Sell Estupinian or not, if he can, I'd definitely sell Estupinian. Lamptey could be okay, according to the Zerbi, and he is currently first choice. Even Igor Julio is playing as a left wing back at times. So I don't trust Estupinian at all. He started in the FA Cup. Obviously, Brighton did lose that game. I think Estupinian is a sell. Play Bowen or Palmer? I'd go for Palmer. Haas says, start Region or Konsa? I'd go for Konsa. I think he either starts or doesn't play at all. If that's the case, I think Konsa has a better chance of a clean sheet. Hayden Ball says bench 1 of Tony, Bowen, and Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz. Tricky one, Palmer or Havertz? I'd go for Palmer still. Look, Havertz does a lot of unnoticed things for Arsenal, but in terms of pure output, Palmer is a much better option. Bench Solanke, Palmer, or Bailey? That is very tricky. I'd probably bench Bailey, and that's because I think Solanke starts. Having said that, wait for any potential leaks. If we do see that Solanke is benched or something, keep an eye out for that sort of information. Then that makes that that team selection decision for you. But at this moment in time, I think I'd bench Bailey. Very close between him and Solanke. Thoughts on Odegaard over Son? For this week specifically, it could work. But when you're also taking into account Game Week 28, I do prefer Son against Villa, actually. Then in Game Week 29, he features. In Game Week 30, Odegaard plays Man City, while Son plays Luton Town at home. So when you're looking at the next 4 or 5 game weeks, I do think Son is a better option. I can't free hit in 29, says Ben. What should I do? My team is Estupinian, Gabriel, Ake, Son, Foden, Saka, captain, Douglas Luiz, Solanke, Haaland, Watkins, benches, Garnacho. That's actually a decent squad, to be fair. And you've got a few players for 29, not many, but let's actually break it down. So Watkins, you've got Douglas Luiz. Okay, maybe I did overestimate that because I saw the Aston Villa players. I'm like, oh, that looks great for 29. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Your defense is the biggest issue. Gabriel, absolutely fine. Even Ake this week, but Estupinian is a problem. And what you could do is go on Doughty early. You cover 28 and 29 that way. But if not, Estupinian to Senesi this week or another Bournemouth defender, up to you. Then in Game Week 28, you buy Doughty, and that's where you could start taking a -4 hit each week in order to get a decent number of players for 29, but most importantly, a good quality of players, and you cover the main options. By Game Week 29, you could do Haaland to Solanke, for example, and have a full front three, really, or you can actually just sell Solanke. That would probably be better. But yeah, I think the best thing to do in your team is to sell your defender. I'd go to either Senesi or Doughty and potentially take a -4 hit in 27 and 28 to optimize your team for Game Week 29 as well. Should I triple captain Haaland? I wouldn't. I mean, look, to be fair, I'm not going to say that. It is a good option this week, to be quite fair, but there are plenty of doubles later in the season. Man City could double in Gameweek 37, same with Liverpool. And not only that, you could also have Højlund having a double of Newcastle and Sheffield United at home in 34, Solanke with a double in 28. Now, look, maybe I'm a bit too focused on doubles when it comes to the triple captaincy, but I do think there are better opportunities later in the season. I actually know someone who's a Man United fan. He tried to jinx Salah. He triple captained him against Manchester United, and it ended up being a 0-0 draw. I'm not saying that's going to happen this weekend. I'd be shocked if United kept a clean sheet or even got any result. But it goes to show that anything is possible in football. And in one game, it is still quite risky to play the triple captain. Overall, though, in terms of single game weeks and the captaincy opportunities in the next few weeks, I think Haaland is up there, to be fair. But I do prefer Solanke in 28. No worries, Lager. Thank you very much. Milner puts his team. Start Areola or Dubravka. I'm currently going for Dubravka, but most of the week I went for Areola. And that's actually a good segue for later in the chat. Let's just go for the super chat first, and then I'm going to go to some different screens, show you some stats to take into account. And after that, I'll go back to your questions. Thank you, Tommy. I do appreciate that. I have both De Bruyne and Foden. I have Jota also. So I'm going to make 2 subs, Jota and... I'd actually keep De Bruyne and Foden. Now, I'm not sure what budget you have there. If you can do Jota to Son, that's ideal. I'd do it right now. But if you can't get to Son through Jota and you have to sell De Bruyne, I'd have that kind of plan ready in place. So let's say we wait until 1 o'clock in the UK and then we get a leak about De Bruyne being benched. In that scenario, De Bruyne to Son makes absolute sense. And then you can buy another midfielder like Bailey, Bowen. You even can go for Maddison, for example. Saka if you don't have him. You can buy those players for Jota instead. So let me know what budget you have, Tommy, because I do want to answer the question to the best of my ability. But yeah, I think Jota out is obviously very simple. And I'd keep De Bruyne and Foden if they start this week. You could always sell De Bruyne in Gameweek 28. Now, of course, Son... If you do De Bruyne to Son, the transfer is worthwhile. It will pay off. But I'm just thinking about the timing. De Bruyne could easily match or outscore Son this week if he does start. But that's the big if. And that's why I would wait for the leaks if possible, because it does give you that information. If De Bruyne is benched, he's a very easy sell to Son. And you could do Jota to one of those midfielders I mentioned. Bailey, Douglas Luiz, Bowen, Saka if you don't have him. And there are plenty more where that came from. Captain Son is a good gamble. I agree. He's third in my ranking this week. I think he's a great option. That's why I bought him after all. The only kind of concern I have is all the injuries that Spurs have at the moment, and also the fact that he's the most transferred in player, which tends to be a curse this season. Foden to KDB, I wouldn't sell one for the other and wait for more updates. We could get leaks later on, and I think Foden is far more likely to start than De Bruyne if you had to kind of put percentages on them. Let's go through some different screens, of course. I do appreciate all the questions. I will get to them. I do promise that. But first off, let's go to the FPR, which has changed a lot because all the Gameweek 29 fixtures are now taken into account. Bournemouth remain top. Spurs, Luton Town, Burnley and Aston Villa complete the top 5. You've also got a few interesting teams in mid-table like Newcastle, Chelsea and Liverpool. And in the bottom 5, we've got Crystal Palace, Manchester City, Sheffield United, Brighton and Manchester United. So yeah, some interesting names there all the way at the bottom, and the FDR has changed a lot in the last couple of weeks. In terms of predicted points for Gameweek 27, Erling Haaland is by far leading the pack with 8.7 predicted points. I think a lot has to do with those 5 goals against Luton Town. Son is second, Tony, Saka. Bit surprising to see Saka so low down, but he is 4th. De Bruyne, Watkins, Nicholas Jackson, Maddison, Foden, Isak. They're all in the top 10. I definitely put Saka higher up. I'm surprised by Tony. I do hope he does that well. I've got him in my team. And so far, the hits for my strikers have been absolutely disastrous. I did Solanke to Darwin in 25. That ended up being a disaster. Then I bought in Tony for a -4 in 26. I was really confident of a return against West Ham. It wasn't meant to be. But yeah, let's see. A very interesting list here. A lot of diversity. I would put Saka, though, in the top 3. That's for sure. In terms of the price changes, this is going to change a lot, of course, over the next few hours. But Kelleher is projected to go up tonight. Same with Saliba, Bailey, Douglas Luiz, and even Luis Diaz. In terms of those going down, Richarlison, De Bruyne, Darwin, Diogo Jota, Alisson, Kabore, Pinnock, Cunha, Doku, Alvarez, Hwang Hee-chan. There's a lot of price changes that are set to happen. You've even got more later down the line, including Doughty and Saka, Watkins, Bowen, etc. I would recommend Fantasy Football Hub for predicted price rises. It's the most reliable I've seen, actually, from any website in terms of predicting these price falls and price rises there. In terms of Drafthound, they are recommending to sell Pedro Porro to Alex Moreno, but that's also assuming that I don't free hit in Gameweek 29. But right now, I'm very likely to, based on my team structure. It's not looking good. Obviously, I just brought in Son. I've got 5 players now for Gameweek 29, but I'm still not a big fan of it because I am missing out on Bowen at the moment, also an Aston Villa midfielder, a Spurs midfielder, and it's not looking that great from that perspective. But I wouldn't be that wrapped up in buying defenders for Gameweek 29. I think if you want to cover that Gameweek without the free hit, the midfielders and forwards should be the priority. So Watkins, Tony, Son, maybe Maddison at this moment in time, Bailey or Douglas Luiz, Jarrod Bowen. If you've got those, I think you're well set for Gameweek 29. But of course, if you have to take a lot of hits to get those players, in that scenario, I would play the free hit. Now, in terms of my polls, I put one for the captaincy. Haaland does lead this with 46% of the vote. At one stage, though, Saka was leading. I think it started to change when Haaland scored those 5 goals against Luton Town. In third is Salah with 8%, but you can pretty much discard that now because he is unavailable for Gameweek 27. And Watkins is last there with 6%. I would put Son in this podium, and he would be above the likes of Watkins even. In terms of other polls I've put out, choose one player to bench, and this is my dilemma for the week after I bought Heung-min Son. Gordon does lead with 52%. Then you've got Palm of 29%, and Tony is last with less than 20% of the vote. Then we've got this, which is also going to play into my transfer plans. I might take a -4 hit this week. So Pedro Porro is unavailable for Gameweek 27, and I might have to buy one of these defenders because I don't trust Estupinian to start. Gabriel does lead this vote with 43%, Senesi is second with 32%, and Doughty is last with 1/4 of the votes. Then we've got which of these amazing goalkeepers would you start? Of course, I was being sarcastic. Some people didn't, couldn't buy into that, but Ariela does lead with 63%, and Dubravka there with less than 40%, and I'm currently going for Dubravka. Let's see how that pans out. The last poll is my transfer plans, so 48% of you did say go Hwang to Son and bench one of Gordon or Palmer, and 20% said Estupinian to Gabriel, then 16% for both a -4 hit and for rolling the transfer. Now, let's go for a stats comparison of the 2 best captaincy options, in my opinion, for this week, and that's going to be Saka and Erling Haaland. So in this calendar year, both of them have 6 appearances, although Saka does have more minutes and starts. Saka with 7 goals and 0 assists. Haaland with 3 goals, 2 assists. In terms of shots, identical for both on target and shots overall. Shots in the box, Haaland does lead. XG, very identical. Haaland just about nudging that one. Expected assists, Saka's far higher, but he's got no assists so far in this calendar year. 6 big chances for Saka, 9 for Haaland, 3 big chances created for Saka, only the 1 for the Norwegian robot, and key passes over double in favour of the Arsenal winger. But these stats actually do look quite promising for Arsenal assets and Bukayo Saka, who are facing the worst defence in the league. But I believe over the last 5 games, Manchester United have conceded 100 shots, which is absolutely insane. I do believe a similar stat was running around when they were about to play Liverpool and ended up being a 0-0 draw, an anticlimactic game. So you just never know what's going to happen. And finally, FPL.Team visualizes your squad for future game weeks. It's a very important tool, in my opinion, when you're planning and doing your chip strategies. But I could do something like this, be very aggressive, and buy Doughty, Barkley, and Solanke in Gameweek 28. So I optimize Gameweek 28 and 29, and it would pretty much reduce the appeal of a free hit, but it also require a -4 hit in Gameweek 29 to then get Maddison and Jarrod Bowen. But overall, we're talking about a -4 hit this week, a -8 next week, and a -4 in Gameweek 29. So that does seem like far too many hits, to be honest, for that blank game week, and that's why my current plan is to play the free hit. I discuss all of this in my chip strategy video. Be sure to check that out. I talk about every single game week until the end of the season and when I'm looking to play the chips and some alternative strategies for you watching as well. But let's go back to my team and back to your questions. I do appreciate your patience. And if you want to see any of the stats again, be sure to rewind and go back earlier in the stream. Thank you, Tommy, once again. Massively appreciate you didn't have to. I have 0.3 million, but Bodro is injured, so I need to get a midfielder and defender. De Bruyne gets me more transfer money. Yeah, and ultimately De Bruyne to Son, for example, is worth it in the long term. I'm just a bit apprehensive about selling De Bruyne this week if he does start. Um, yeah, it's a tricky scenario that you have, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, you need to get a midfielder and a defender. Yeah, De Bruyne to Son would be worth it in that case, reluctantly. And in the defense, I'm just wondering what your free hit strategy is. Just put another normal message, no need for super chats. But in Gameweek 29, if you're not free hitting, then I think it's important to cover that as well if possible. I think Doughty either this week or next week would be the play. But ultimately, for Gameweek 28, my favorite defender would be Senesi. So I'd say Senesi and Son are probably the best transfers for you. But of course, selling De Bruyne this week, you know what the risks are. And if that's the only way you can make it work and, get these transfers done. The thing I'm, kind of talking about here, though, is if you got Borro, that's the thing. If you're not free in Gameweek 29, you don't want to sell Borro. He's going to be available by then. But you could feasibly do Borro to Senesi and then maybe do Jota to Son, but I'm guessing you still don't have enough money for that. So be sure to let me know with just a normal message and we can finalize your scenario there. 2 players for Gameweek 29. Can I just take hits for 3 or 4 more or free hit? So hits for 3 or 4 more. But how many hits are we talking about? If it's a -4 or -8, I think that's pretty much fine. But yeah, only 2 players for Gameweek 29. Yeah, look, I've said this multiple times. It's not just about the quantity of players, it's about the quality. But I think a free hit over people who are taking massive hits for Gameweek 29, you already save a lot of points from that perspective. And then on top of that, you can also optimize your team for that specific game week and get better options. So maybe Flecken over Areola. You can also go for 2 Spurs midfielders very easily. You can go for Bowen, an Aston Villa midfielder. It's not great, it's not pretty, but I do think from your perspective and point of view there, Gary, I think it's probably best a free hit. Senesi, better choice, says Dakesh. Yeah, he might well be my transfer in this week, and I would be taking a -4 hit, by the way, but it's really for Gameweek 28 and also having a good fixture in Gameweek 30. My current plan is to wildcard in Gameweek 31, and I think Senesi is probably a better option than Gabriel over the next couple of weeks. The main issue, though, is the 8 yellow cards, and if Senesi does get suspended, he misses 2 games. Pau Torres is expected to start. I believe so. Now, I think one of him or Konsa will start. That's the issue. I'm not sure if both of them start at the same time. Aston Villa have been decimated by injuries recently, especially at the back. But yeah, I think one of him or Konsa will start. I'm not entirely sure which one. Let's see how it pans out. Normally, of course, they do start together. Remove KDB for Saka or roll and have 2 free transfers heading into double game at 28. If De Bruyne starts and we get that confirmation for the deadline, I'd keep De Bruyne, roll the transfer. Not ideal to go without Saka this week, but yeah, De Bruyne is a great option if he does start. Douglas Luiz or Bailey? Bailey this week, that's for sure. I'd probably look at buying Douglas Luiz, though, for the longer term because I'm a bit more concerned about Bailey. He's more injury prone and also prone to rotation compared to Douglas Luiz, who gets 90 minutes week on week. Is Maddison playing? Yes, he will play. It's Richarlison who's missing 2 to 3 weeks. Not having Haaland and Saka, only choice for captain, I'm having a Son. Yeah, that is quite nervy to go without both of arguably the best captaincy options this week, but Son is a great choice. Bench Pascal Gross or Alfie Doughty, says Wasif. I would bench Doughty. Raf77 says, want to bring Son and Salah, but I have Neto, Palmer, Foden, Gordon, and Kudus. Well, from those players, I would sell Neto if possible. I'm not sure what budget you have. Is it enough to get those players in? As for Salah, he's missing out Gameweek 27, so forget about him. All you need to focus on right now is Son. You can just wait for Gameweek 30 to buy Salah. That's the best time to buy him because he plays Man City in 28, blanks in 29. So forget about Salah for now would be my advice. I've said this all along, even before it turned out he was unavailable for Nottingham Forest. So Son in for Neto is my recommended transfer there. Will you bench Solanke? Well, I don't have Solanke now. I had him a few weeks ago. I sold him. That was a disaster. But if I had Solanke, would I bench him? That's a great question. I probably would in my scenario because he'd probably take Tony's place in this instance. I'd definitely start Haaland and Watkins over him. Saka goes without saying. Foden, yeah, I'd probably bench him. It would be between him and Palmer, and I would favour the Chelsea attacking midfielder. So yeah, I would probably bench him if I had him in my own team structure. I do appreciate those tuning in. We do have over 300 people watching. Thank you very much for all the support. Be sure to get the likes up. Our aim is to get this stream to over 200. And if you think this stream is busy, the UCL Fantasy Deadline stream next Tuesday is going to be far busier. So be sure to tune in for that as well. You know, maybe you weren't aware, I do make UCL Fantasy content. So be sure to tune in for that. Everything you need to know for Matchday 8 will be covered. I also cover all the injuries in the Best Limitless Team video, which is currently available for channel members and patrons. It should be uploaded tomorrow, and the Best Wildcard Team is already out on the channel. Start Darwin or Gordon, says Saga. Great question. I'd probably go for Gordon, home advantage, and also he's going to start. With Darwin, there is a chance he doesn't. I do expect both of them to do quite well this week. I'd probably go for Gordon. Dubravka playing, yes, he was man of the match in the FA Cup against Blackburn. He made a penalty save in the shootout, and I think he made 6-7 saves in the normal game, perhaps even more. So, yeah, Dubravka will play. Is Darwin playing? I think he will play, and I even think he starts, but that's obviously a big if. Bench 1, Gross or Palmer? I bench Gross. Kivior or Bradley? Kivior, mate. I did cover this before. The doggy for a Stupinian. I mean, if you're not free hitting in Gameweek 29, yeah, that's a good transfer. I don't trust Spurs defensively, but Udogie was in good form before his injury. Trent and Hwang to Saliba and Son for a -4 or wildcard? I take the -4. If I do Neto to Son, as you said, says Pedro, I have to bench 1. Saka, Son, Solanke, Foden, Palmer or Gross. Yeah, and that was my dilemma when I bought in Son. From those players, I'd probably bench Gross. Yeah. Gross or Palmer for Son? I'd rather sell Gross, because it's not just about Gameweek 27 and 8, where Fulham have better fixtures, but I do fancy Palmer against Brentford and Newcastle, and not only that, in Gameweek 30 and 31, Chelsea have better fixtures there. So, yeah, my answer would definitely be selling Gross and keeping Palmer. Richarlison to Bowen? Yes, if you're not free hitting in Gameweek 29, Bowen is a good transfer. I'm not that keen on Bowen specifically for this week or in Gameweek 28. I know he just scored a hat-trick, but yeah, I think Bowen is just a good option with decent fixtures and who features in Gameweek 29. Abir says, Dubravka, Gabriel, Van Dijk, a Bournemouth defender, either Senesi or you suggest. Yeah, Senesi would be my preference. Zabani and Kirkez are definitely worth considering, but Senesi is my favourite. Odegaard, Saka, KDB, Foden, Diaz, Haaland, Captain and Watkins. Yeah, good squad. I think Senesi makes sense. Just be aware, he's on 8 yellow cards. If that puts you off, and you had to go for an alternative, I think Kirkez would be my option. Palmer, it says, has a worse fixture than Gordon, but you got him starting. Can you give a reason? Yeah, in the FDR, you're right. Gordon has a more appealing fixture, but if you compare the two teams they're facing, so Wolves and Brentford, Wolves have been much better this season, and I also look at Brentford. They've got their entire backline injured. Ben Mee, Rico Henry, everyone you can think of is out injured, and they're conceding multiple goals every single game. They just conceded 4 to West Ham, and with Palmer, if you look at his points per average per game, it's actually far higher than Anthony Gordon's. And look, both of them are good options. Gordon's only blanked once this season, but the reason why I'm benching him right now is because sometimes he gets 4 or 5 pointers. He does return, but it's not massive returns that will really come back to bite you. Maybe this is going to age horribly wrong, and I do hope Gordon stays quiet if he ends up being on my bench, but I do fancy Palmer a bit more this week because his ceiling is far more higher. He's also on penalties. Gordon did take a penalty recently, but Isak is now back, so Gordon will be second in command when it comes to penalties there, I would assume anyway. So my answer would be Palmer, sorry. Also bet underlying numbers if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot that goes Palmer's way, even though in the FDR the fixture still looks better for Anthony Gordon. So yeah, a lot of questions coming in. I'll try to whiz through these so we can cover everything. Mario says, start Solanke or do a -4 hit to Palmer. I'd start Solanke. That's based on my assumption that Solanke starts, but it will be 50-50. It's down to a late fitness test, and if you don't want to run the risk, a -4 hit to Palmer should pay off anyway. Best midfielder for Gameweek 27 up to 9 million, wildcard in 28. Right. Tricky one. So, best midfielder for Gameweek 27. Well, I'd say Foden, but I'm assuming you have him already. So, yeah, I'd say Foden, Palmer, Bailey, Bowen would probably enter my thinking. And you know what? Even a pun on Odegaard or Martinelli looks really good this week. If I had to pick one player out of all of them, that is tricky, but I'd say Foden. is the best midfielder for Gameweek 27. Alan Basso says, hi Dylan, do you think it's worth to do a -4 from KDB to Son? I wouldn't do a -4. Unless we get confirmation of De Bruyne benched, I wouldn't take a -4 this week. Sell Trippier to have double defense of Arsenal. Look, I actually had a similar scenario in the Discord server, but it was for a hit. And in that scenario, I said, I don't like selling Trippier to an Arsenal defender for a hit this week, even though Arsenal have a much better chance of keeping a clean sheet, because Trippier, with just one attack and return, is very likely to get bonus points. And if he does keep a clean sheet, you could easily see 9 to 12 points. Trippier is the best in terms of bonus points amongst any defender. But I think I'd keep Trippier, to be honest. Even if it means you're rolling the transfer, having 2 next week is actually very important. And a lot depends on your strategy for Gameweek 29. Leno or Flecken, says Rowand. I'd probably go for Leno. Hi Dylan, Palmer or Garnacho to start, says Timmy. Palmer. KDB or Son? Son. Look, Son is the better option for the next 4 or 5 game weeks, and even this week I would rank him slightly higher. But my issue is selling De Bruyne this week, especially for a hit to Heung-min Son. If that's the case, I'd wait another week unless we get a leak that De Bruyne is benched. In that case, just go ahead with it, even for a -4. Thank you for moderating the chat, Lager. Massively appreciated. Is Darwin playing? I believe so. I think he starts. Tony or Palmer? I'd probably favour Palmer. Gilio Rossi says, hi, I'm looking to dead end to Gameweek 31 and have a Stupinian in the defence. Would you take a Stupinian out for Senesi this week? But that will lead to more hits for blank Gameweek 29, but Senesi will play in Gameweek 30 for me before Gameweek 31. Right, I see what you mean. Yes, that's you make a good point there with Senesi. It's not just him having a good fixture this week. He doubles in 28, and he has a good fixture in Gameweek 30 when the likes of Saliba and Ake are playing each other. So Senesi does cover multiple game weeks. The main issue is that if he gets 2 more yellow cards in that time frame, he's out for 2 games, and it also adds to your defensive woes. Overall, though, yes, I would recommend Senesi. I think it should pay off. You just have to hope he doesn't get those bookings, and it's going to be very nerve-wracking if he gets a booking against Burnley. I'm not going to lie to you. Start Ake or Senesi? I'd go for Ake still. Daniel Box says, hi Dylan, Ake, difficult fixture and rotation risk, Udogi, injured out, Taylor, weak defense, which 2 of them to start? I'd go for Udogi and Ake. Ake should start. Every single predicted lineup I've seen, and I mean every single one, for Manchester City included Ake. That doesn't mean he's definitely going to start, but I'm very confident he will. As for Udogi, he is an injury doubt, but Postecoglou was quite positive about him, and he said he could feature, and he has been training for several days. So, yeah, I think they both start, and I'd start both of them in your FPL team. No worries, Alan. Pedro Porro starts? No. He should be out for another week, according to Ange Postecoglou. Sell Salah to Son for a -4? Yes. Salah's going to be out for 27. He'll probably start against Man City. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And to be honest, I've been saying this for some time now, but I genuinely mean it. And yeah, then he blanks in 29. Yeah, Son makes sense. Is a -8 okay to use Tom? I'm not sure what you mean there by Tom. Do you mean Dom? Dominic Solanke? Be sure to let me know. Derek 1989 says, hi Dylan, choose 3 to start from Cash, Estupinian, Bradley, Gabriel, Akanji. Great question. Gabriel easily starts. I'd also go for Bradley. Now, Akanji has been starting a lot of games recently, but a lot of lineups I've seen from City fans don't have Akanji in it. I'd probably go for Cash. And which transfer to make for free? Estupinian to Senesi or Hwang to Palmer? Thank you in advance. The thing with Senesi is, I've mentioned it before, good fixture this week. Also in Gameweek 30, which is very underrated and important, but also that double in 28. And I do think Senesi will perform very well over the next 2 game weeks. But for me, the move of the highest ceiling is Hwang to Palmer. I would do that if it doesn't result in a benching headache for you. Juntao says, hi mate, already did 1 free transfer, Darwin to Solanke before he got injured. Should I do Hwang to Son -4 or roll and assess next week? Also bench Palmer or Gordon. Fair enough. Ooh. Yeah, so you've already got a benching dilemma there, don't you? Or is that only if you buy Son? Yeah, so I'm in a similar situation there where, I bought in Son, it resulted in a benching headache, I've benched Gordon, and that answers your question. I'd bench Gordon between him and Palmer, but I think in your situation, I'd probably... I'd probably take the -4 here, especially if you're not free hitting in Game Week 29, because Son covers all bases that way. He's a perfect transfer this week. He's great for this week. He also has good fixtures for the next 4 or 5. So after Game Week 29, if you are free hitting, he's got a great fixture there. He's a captaincy contender. And if you aren't free hitting, he features in Game Week 29, and he's arguably the best captaincy option there. So overall, I would take the -4 hit. But yeah, if it's going to result in benching headaches, it is a tricky one, but I'd still go ahead with it. Thank you, Daniel. Last fast question, Areola or Dubravka to start? Look, I'm not going to make any promises because throughout the week, I had Areola and I've now switched to Dubravka. I'm very torn between them. If you check out my YouTube channel, go to the community tab, there is a poll that answers this specific question and 63% of people have voted for Areola. I'm currently going for Dubravka, and that's mainly because of the injuries Wolves have in the front line, with Hwang Hee-chan being out injured. Bellegarde could be the false 9. So yeah, I'm currently going for Dubravka. And also, one thing that did sway me towards him for now is his performance against Blackburn in the FA Cup. It was a very good performance. What do you think of using a Stupinian? Not a big fan. I don't think he starts because Lamptey should be good to play according to the Zerbi. You've also got Igor Julio who can play as a left wing back or left back. So I'm just not really keen on a Stupinian right now. I'm not wildcarding before Game Week 32 or later, so is it better to get Sabani or Kirkes than Senesi? I still prefer Senesi, but I understand what you're saying. I completely understand. If you want to avoid that risk entirely, I'd go for another defender, and my slight preference is Kirkes, but there's not really much in it. I could make a stats comparison between the two for you if you want. That could also help a lot of people looking to buy Bournemouth defenders. We might as well do that now, actually. It also is quite interesting. It should make for interesting reading. Let's actually put this up here. So let's put Kirkes and Zabani. Just going to give it a bit of time to load. But yeah, that is the plan. So, okay, no, I clicked on the wrong one. Apologies. Kirkes, and let's put Zabani. Here we go. All right, so not much to look at if you look at the attacking numbers. Only the 1 assist for Kirkes in 19 appearances. No attacking returns whatsoever for Zabani in 25, but of course, sometimes you are due, as they say. In terms of shots, identical, only the 1 more shot for Kirkes in fewer appearances. Shots in the box, Zabani has 2 more. Yeah, these aren't great numbers to look at, but ultimately it's just the clean sheet chances, and I think Sheffield United is the fixture that is most appealing. You'd probably expect 1 clean sheet over the next 3 for Bournemouth, and Sheffield United is the most likely. I don't think Bournemouth keep a clean sheet against Luton, and probably not against Burnley either, but then it's a good fixture in Game Week 30 against Everton, although do you expect a clean sheet? Probably not, but I'd rather play Senesi, Kirkes or Zabani over a Saliba in Game Week 30. So yeah, it's not much to look at, to be quite honest with you. If we put into perspective, actually, let's actually put Senesi, because I do think his numbers are considerably better. They're not great, but they are much better than the others. So, yeah, in terms of output, it was obviously much better. 3 goals, 2 assists. But the shots also, only 7, 3 on target, 5 shots in the box. The XG isn't even 1. 2 big chances, 12 key passes. But, yeah, these numbers for all Bournemouth defenders are awful. So, yeah, I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. Bournemouth defenders don't look particularly great, but if I had to pick one, it'd still be Senesi, despite the 8 yellow cards he currently has. Let's now go back to my team again and back to your questions. I'll probably put a poll out now, by the way, and it's going to be related to my team, but afterwards I want to obviously involve polls of your making, so be sure to leave ideas for polls in the live chat. So let's see, so take a -4 hit for a defender or stick with Borro Estupinian. That's just a disaster waiting for happen. So Gabriel, -4. I'm going to put Senesi, -4. Doughty. No, I don't think I'd put Doughty this week anyway. The other one would be Bournemouth defender, -4. Other Bournemouth defender. And the other one is don't take the hit. Or stick with Borro Stupinian. So that's going to be my the only poll I put out for myself, but there you go. Be sure to let me know what you think. There might be an autocorrect there. We've had some funny autocorrects in the past. Play Region or -4 for Zabani. Play Region. Play Walker or Solanke. I'd play Solanke. Will Solanke play is the next question. Let me just get it up. I just lost it. Yeah, I believe he will play. It's going to be down to a late fitness test. He's pretty much 50-50, but I believe Solanke will play. And by the way, for those that are voting in the poll, if I buy Senesi this week or any Bournemouth defender, I could then buy Doughty from -4 next week and Solanke, so I'd have 3 doublers in Gameweek 28, and Doughty also helps me cover Gameweek 29. So from that perspective, going for Senesi this week could be the better option, but he's also a risk of a suspension, and Gabriel has a far better chance of a clean sheet in Gameweek 27. So that's how, I kind of break it down. Gabriel is leading the vote at the moment. I'll wait for that to cool down a little bit. There could be some changes. Morris, Barkley, or Tavernier? Choose one for next week. Ideally, it would be Morris, to be fair, but I do like Barkley, actually. Tavernier would be the lowest of the 3. He's been in quite bad form. Earlier in the season, he was actually quite promising, but yeah, the fixtures are obviously in Tavernier's favour, but I would favour Morris, then Barkley, and then Tavernier would be last. Will Reeve says, thoughts on Estupinian to Doughty and Hwang to Maddison from -4. If you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29, good transfers. They also optimize Gameweek 28 in the case of Doughty with that double. And in 27, Maddison is a decent option against Crystal Palace. So overall, I do like those transfers. And if you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29, I'd go with them. My biggest worry this week is if Solanke or Ake don't play, Estupinian comes off the bench. I believe Ake will play. I'm very confident about that. With Solanke, I'm less sure, to be quite honest with you, but it is 50-50. It will be down to late fitness test. If Solanke doesn't feel pain, or if he's eager to start and there is no risk of aggravating the injury, then I think Solanke does play. Remember, this injury he's suffering from, he has experienced since the Spurs game, according to Iraola, the Bournemouth manager. So it's nothing new for Solanke. He has played through this pain and done very well in certain games, like Newcastle very recently, despite having this little niggle and injury. I want to get Hwang out. Okay, I need to be careful when I say that. I have Gordon, Foden, Saka, Neto, and 9.3 million in the bank. Who would you swap him for? Son would be the ideal one, but of course you can't get to him, so I understand that. I would actually look at one of Bailey or Bowen. Even Douglas Luiz. I think one of those 3 is best, especially if you don't free hit in 29. And of course, the alternative is Maddison, which is a differential this week. So, yeah, depends on your Gameweek 29 chip strategy, free hit or not. But you know what? I'd actually go for Maddison. Does Pau Torres start? I believe so. Let's actually go through this. Let's use Drafthound, which has some very good predicted lineups, and it could help you with some of your questions. So let's go to Aston Villa. Let's give it a second to load, and we'll also check a few other teams of interest. So Aston Villa, Martinez in goal, Cash, Lenglet, Pau Torres, Alex Moreno, Bailey, Douglas Luiz McGinn, Jacob Ramsey, and Tielemans and Watkins there as the front 2. So Pau Torres is expected to start, but his chances are lower, and that is reflected by the expected minutes. Then there is, let's see, Bournemouth. They've got Solanke still in the lineup. So Neto, Smith, Zabani, Senesi, Kirkez, Christie, Cook, Semenyo, Kluivert, Tavernier, and Solanke. Now, of course, these are predicted lineups, so take with a pinch of salt, but a lot of times I do find these to be very reliable from Drafthound. Brentford, not really any surprises there with the injuries to Ben Mee. These are updated daily, by the way, so whenever an injury happens, this is updated literally within hours, sometimes within minutes, so that's why Drafthound can be very useful. Be sure to check out the link in the description below. I've been using this since the summer, and I haven't regretted it one bit. Estupinian isn't in the Brighton predicted lineup there. We've got Igor Julio on the left and Lamptey on the right, so yeah, not really too many surprises there. And any other teams we want to look at, probably Man City is of interest, and Liverpool. So they've got Kelleher in goal, Bradley, Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson, who is a Dow at the moment, McAllister, Endo, and Szoboszlai, who could be in contention to start. Then you've got Elliott, Gakpo, and Diaz. So yeah, Nunez on the bench could be the right call there from Drafthound. Luton Town, nothing really of interest there, so Adebayo is still out. Manchester City, though, they've got Ederson, Walker, Stones, Ruben Dias, Ake, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Alvarez, Foden, and Erling Haaland. So all 3 of my players would theoretically start according to this lineup. And then for Spurs, if we look at it, yeah, pretty much nothing really too fancy. They've got Vicario, Emerson Real, Romero, Van der Ven, Davis, Sarr, Bissouma, Kulusevski, Maddison, Werner, and Son up front. I think the doggy could start over Davis, to be fair. But apart from that, I think it's pretty much spot on there from this website. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Any other, teams of interest? Not really. You've got here Bellegarde and Neto forming a front 3 with Sarabia. So yeah, pretty much what you'd expect. But let's see how it all turns out to be when we get the official lineups. And let's now go back to my FPL team once again. So let's see what I've missed. Daniel says, I also think the same. The absence of Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan. Also, the home fixture for Newcastle makes more sense to start the Dubravka over Areola. Have a nice day and good game week, Dylan, and to all viewers. Thank you, Daniel. Hopefully you are right if I end up going for Dubravka, but that also plays a part. You're right to mention Cunha. I did forget to mention him. And yeah, Hwang Hee-chan has looked sluggish in recent games anyway, but it's still a massive blow to have him out, and Wolves are limited in their options up front. So let's see how it, all turns out to, be. But the last fixture was 2-2 between these two sides at the Molineux. Saka or Haaland captain? I'm currently going for Erling Haaland, but Saka is a very close contender. Don't even underestimate Heung-min Son. That is my top 3 for the week. Start 3, bench 1. I'd bench Senesi from those 4. Start Garnacho or Solanke. I'd go for Solanke there. Brimar. 8 million, best mid. I have Saka, Foden, Palmer, Gordon. I'd consider Maddison, especially if you aren't free hitting in Gameweek 29. Apart from that, probably Bowen. Yeah, tricky one. I think for this week, Maddison is better. Over the next 3 or 4, yeah, it's tricky as well, but I'd probably just about go for Maddison. Maddison, Bowen, or Gordon to buy. I'd say Maddison, but Bowen is very close. Gordon will be last. He's got good fixtures until Gameweek 35, actually, but I'm not sure if I'd buy him right now. Play Cash or Gusto? I'd play Cash. Solanke or Garnacho? I'd go for Solanke. No worries, Dakesh. Will Wissa start for Brentford? If Estupinian starts, I'm going to transfer with a -4 from Andreas Fulham to Martin Odegaard. According to the lineup I just showed you, no. It will be Malpai and Tony up front for Brentford. And Wissa generally is a super sub for Thomas Frank. That's been the case for several years now. So I don't think Wissa starts for Brentford. I do agree with Drafthound there. In terms of if Estupinian starts, I'm going to transfer a -4. Yeah, that's a big if, though. I'm not sure if Estupinian starts, to be honest. If he does, I'll just save the hit, potentially. But either way, actually, I want to demonstrate this. And then I'll obviously go back to your question, which is the most important thing. But just to illustrate to people as well. So, if I go to Gameweek 28, let's actually show you my team before making any transfers for Gameweek 28. So, my defense needs a bit of an overhaul. I need to take hits to rectify this, this problem. So, let me just get this up. So without transfers. All right, so we'll buy Son here, which is what I did. There's going to be a 0.1 million difference. Not really a big deal. You can change the transfer price. So I bought Son in at 9.6. Yeah, Palmer in for Gordon. Yada, yada, yada. Nothing really interesting. If we go to Gameweek 28, I would have Saliba with an okay fixture against Brentford. But then Estupinian, who's unlikely to start against Nottingham Forest. Ake away to Liverpool. Bodra away to Aston Villa, and Lascelles away to Chelsea, who doesn't even start anyway. So I need to buy 2 defenders in Gameweek 27 and 28. So yeah, I think overall with your situation there, mate, I think I'd sell Stupinian still. I know you're looking to do Andres to Odegaard. That's a great transfer. And I think as a 1-week punt, even over the next 2, it could really work out for you. Just bear in mind with Odegaard, in Gameweek 30, he's going to play Man City. He blanks in 29 as well. And Gameweek 31 is probably when you want to buy back Arsenal players. So Odegaard's really a short-term punt for you. And I think it potentially is a priority to upgrade your defense. I don't trust Estupinian at all. And he's ultimately a sell. If you can do it this week, perfect. If you can't, then do it in Gameweek 28 instead. So let me know what you think of that. Bench either Solanke, Palmer, or Bailey. Reluctantly, I would bench Bailey. But we could get an update before the deadline about Solanke. And if we do, just keep your eyes peeled, because that would ultimately determine what you should do, of course. Solanke is pretty much a one-man team at Bournemouth. If he doesn't play, I see them struggling. Yeah, true. They might even settle for a draw or be a bit more defensive, which could play into the hands of a Senesi, for example. But yeah, I do agree with you. Solanke is by far the best option. How is Kai Havertz with a -4? Look, Havertz has done pretty well for Arsenal in recent games. Even throughout the season, during his rough patches, he's done a lot of dirty work and things that go unnoticed. But from an FPL perspective, I wouldn't buy him, especially for a -4. I know it's Sheffield United. Can it pay off this week? Yes, but I'd much rather go for Maddison, or if you want an Arsenal midfielder, Odegaard, Martinelli, and of course Saka. Start Solanke just in case. In most scenarios, yes, but it depends who you're starting him over. Diaz or Gross, who to start? Oof. I think Gross is a better FPL asset. But Brighton tend to struggle against Fulham, if I'm not mistaken, or at least in recent meetings. Wow, that's extremely tough. I think I'd start And Diaz has been in great form as well, by the way. I'd go for Gross still, but just about. It's like 51-49 probably. Trippier or Nuri? Trippier. Definitely Trippier. Hi, Dylan. In defense, start one of Taylor, Estupinian, or Region. I would go for Region. In attack, start one of Palmer, Solanke, or Gross. Palmer. Zabani is a 6'2" giant, and Burnley is in poor form. Yeah, that's a good point. They are poor from set pieces, but Zabani hasn't scored a single goal this season. Not only that, he's got no assists either. Now, of course, that doesn't mean he's never going to score again. He will score eventually. But, you know, from that perspective, what you just said of Burnley being poor from set pieces, you're absolutely right. But I actually think that could favour Senesi. He's the most likely to score, even though his underlying numbers aren't particularly great. But he's got 3 goals from 7 shots this season. A massive overperformance, but Zabani also has 7 shots. So, yeah, interesting one there, of course. I think one as Senesi or Zabani will score in the next 3 game weeks. It's just a matter of who and nailing that on. Liverpool team, Kelleher, Connor, Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gomez, McAllister, Clark, Elliott, Diaz, Gakpo. So it looks like Nunez is benched, according to Ahmed. Let me know where you got that from, the Liverpool team. I'd generally appreciate it. Matspus's team, it's a wild card. Neto, Fleckin, Senesi, Saliba, Gabriel, Van der Ven, Doughty, Saka, Bowen, Son, Palmer, Bailey, Watkins, Haaland, Solanke. It's a good plan. It's very solid. For this week, you've got arguably the best defence you can assemble, especially with the 2 Arsenal. Yeah, Neto for this week and for 28 looks good. You can start Flecking in 29. My only issue with your squad in general is how do you tackle Gameweek 30 and beyond? Can you get to Salah in Gameweek 30? I'm assuming so. I'm guessing what you're going to do for Gameweek 29 is do Haaland to Tony, and that gives you the funds to buy Salah. But then how do you buy Erling Haaland whilst keeping Salah in Gameweek 31 onwards? You don't have to, of course, but it's something worth considering with your wildcard squad. In terms of what you've presented, it looks really good. I'd rather go for a doggy over Van der Ven, but in terms of chance of starting this week, I understand why you've gone for the Dutchman. But yeah, I would consider a doggy over Van der Ven and risk it there. You probably have enough bench coverage to compensate. Even with a Doughty, for example, yeah, I think would be absolutely fine. So good wildcard squad, Mats. Just be aware of Gameweek 30 and beyond. How do you fit in Salah and Haaland at the same time, if that's your plan, and also what you're looking to do for double Gameweek 34 and also for future doubles like 37. But it looks good, I have to say that. Bench one of Bowen, Palmer, Alvarez. Thanks, says Tony. I would bench Bowen. However, if we get a leak of Alvarez being benched, you know what to do. You start Bowen there in that scenario. Chance of a Brighton team league. I can't remember the last time we got one, to be honest. A lot of fake news have kind of blown around with Brighton team news in recent weeks, so I'm not really sure about that. Black Shadow says start free. I would go for Trippier. That is a really close call, by the way. Yeah, Trippier, Van Heck, and Soufal, I think, would be my defensive three there. I think Haaland and Saka will be really close in points this week. Yeah, on paper, they certainly are. Saka has better underlying numbers for this calendar year, but they're still quite close. And to be fair, Haaland has played fewer minutes. He just scored 5 goals against Luton Town. And Manchester United have conceded 100 shots in the last 5 games. But then again, Arsenal are the most informed team, and they're playing Sheffield United, who've got the worst defence in Premier League history up until this stage of the season. Leno or Dubravka to Neto. Both could be sold for Kelleher in the future anyways. Fair enough. I mean, just purely in terms of value, I mean, Dubravka doesn't really offer much value, does he? I think I'd sell Dubravka. Yeah, I think it makes sense because Leno also features in 29, albeit against Tottenham, but it's an appearance point. He could get some saves as well. Dubravka won't feature. I think it makes sense to sell Dubravka. Lemmy C says, would you bench boost with Leno, Solanke, Doughty, Lascelles, or wait for double game week? I would wait for a double game week because Lascelles isn't going to get you any points, really. You know, at most, a 1 point off the bench. Doughty against Aston Villa. You know, you're relying on attack and return. Solanke is 50-50 to play. He alone could make it worth it, but yeah, I'd say the bench boost for either 28 or later in the season. I think Gameweek 37 looks the best for most people. Start Bradley, I'm guessing that is, or Walker. Bradley. Bowen or Barkley, says Sad. Bowen. Play Solanke or Gusto. Solanke. Just bear in mind, he is not guaranteed to play. It's 50-50, down to a late fitness test, but I back him to start. We do have still 1 hour, 23 minutes left until the deadline, 1 hour 22. You can see the countdown clock just below the camera. I'm looking to introduce some more features. I think it was Weiseng who did ask for a countdown timer. He was right to ask for something like that, but I will try to play around with some graphics and improve the streams and videos later down the line as well. Aaron says bench 2, Taylor, Stupinian, Ake, Konsa or Gabriel. I would bench Taylor and Stupinian. Diaz to start. Yeah, Diaz. Yeah, I mean, that's not really too much of a surprise with Darwin Nunez just coming back from an injury. Salah's still out. Diaz is gonna, well, he's got a lot of minutes under his belt. Let's just put it that way for the next couple of weeks. A doggy or Robinson? A doggy. Wildcard draft for this week. Check out my wildcard video. It's all covered there. You know, I also talk about future plans for Gameweek 28, etc. Gameweek 29 as well. JC Snook says Trippier, Hwang out for Son and Senesi. Thoughts? If you can only buy Son by downgrading Trippier, I would do it. I do like Trippier a little bit this week, actually. I think he could do very well. Potentially get a 9 points or above. But Son is worth it. He alone justifies those transfers. Start Diaz or Solanke. Assuming Solanke's ready to start, which is a big if, I'd rather go for Solanke. But yeah, Diaz is the safer pick. If it's not the game to captain Saka due to its form, then when? I'm not saying it's not the week to not captain Saka. I mean, for me, Saka is right up there. It's so close between him and Haaland. But I just look at Haaland's record against Man United, United's form as well. There's a lot to like there. And also Haaland's been averaging 2-3 big chances per game. It's about him finishing his chances. I know Saka's been in better form, but yeah, I just really back Man City to do really well against Man United, score 3 or 4 goals. And look, my captaincy is not locked in. My goalkeeper's not locked in. My defensive line's not locked in. There's a lot that could change from now until the deadline. Kumar says bench 2. I would bench Doughty and Estupinian. Awali says 8 million mid. I have Saka, Palmer, Foden, Gordon. I think I answered this, mate. I would go for either Bowen or Maddison. Depending on your Gameweek 29 strategy as well, of course. If you are free hitting in Gameweek 29, you could even look elsewhere entirely and go for a Martinelli as a 1-week punt. But I'd probably recommend Bowen or Maddison. Start Moreno or Doughty? Moreno. Shall I play Palmer this week or Tony, says Paddy. I'd play Palmer. Actually, my team all on easy fixtures. Well, that's a good sign. Hopefully they can translate that into points. Hi, Dylan. When is the best game week to have the wild card? Team dependent. I don't want to sit on the fence with these questions, but it generally is team dependent. For a lot of people, or at least maybe not a lot, but for some FPL managers like myself, I think the best time to wildcard is Gameweek 31. For some people, it will be Gameweek 30. For others, it will be Gameweek 34 or 35 to really optimize the bench boost in Gameweek 37, for example. And it does depend on your overall chip strategy. When are you planning to use the free hit, the bench boost, and any other chips, for example, like the triple captain, if you still have it? Hi, start Bruno Fernandes or Gusto? I'd go for Gusto. Start Solanke or Gross? I'd go for Solanke. And Areola or Leno? Areola, but I'm not keen on either. Bench 2, Taylor, Estupinian, Ake, Konsa, Gabriel. I think I've covered this, mate, but just to reiterate, Taylor and Estupinian would be benched. Do you like Senesi as a pick? In terms of Bournemouth and Luton Town defenders, yes, Senesi and Doughty are the best options. Is he great? Not really. But I do see him getting one good return over the next 3 game weeks, and that alone does pay it off. You know, earlier in the season, he had a purple patch. I think he got 5-6 points, then consecutive 14-15 pointers against the likes of Manchester United and I believe Fulham. So I think Senesi has the potential and the highest ceiling of any Bournemouth defender. And when you have so many limited options in the defence, apart from Saliba and Gabriel, I think Senesi is probably the best defender to buy this week. Thanks, Dylan. Sure thing. Estupinian also not doing well in FPL. I'm having Benjamin White. I'm going to probably go for Destiny or Doggy and stick with Andreas from Fulham. Free hit in 29, good for me. Fair enough. And yeah, I think for a lot of people, I know it's not ideal to free hit in a game week with only 4 fixtures and some of the teams involved aren't of high quality, but I think a free in 29 does save you a lot of points through hits alone. Start Gross or Solanke. I've been asked this quite a lot, but just to go for it one more time, I would go for Solanke. Of course, wait for any updates or potential leaks before the deadline. That could change your thinking there. Weiseng puts his team. Yeah, looks good. I think I'd go for Dubravka over Leno. Yeah, I think I'd go for that. And the rest speaks for itself. It looks solid. Is 9 players enough to not free hit in 29? Definitely. But also, LXICH, it's also about the quality of players you have in Gameweek 29. Do you have, or will you have Tony, Son, maybe another Spurs midfielder, Watkins. I think if you have those and, you know, one or two other players in the midfield and attack, I think you're absolutely fine. I'm not really too keen on the goalkeepers or defenders that week. Of course, if you're building a free hit team, you'd probably go for Brentford defenders, go for Flecken and Reguilon, but even then, they've just been absolutely decimated by injuries at the back. So, yeah, I think 9 players is enough to not free hit, but just make sure you have the best players available in the midfield and attack. Start Solanke or Luiz, I'd go for Solanke. Can't afford the doggy by 0.1 million. Fair enough. And think Van de Ven does okay with bonus points. May not go back to Haaland and get Salah after 30. That's fair play, and play it your way, of course. And it's a good wildcard team. I'm sure you have a good strategy in place as well. And that makes sense. I think Van de Ven's fine. I'm just a bit concerned with him in terms of the injuries. He has picked up a few, or sometimes he looks at risk of picking one up, especially with his hamstring. So hopefully he does stay fit and doesn't get any injuries. Bench 2, Taylor, Stupinian, Ake, Consor, Gabriel. I think I've gone through this, mate. So yeah, just refer back to my previous answer. Play Solanke or wait one more week. Wait one more week, I think, is probably the best thing to do. Connor says Areola or Dubravka. I'm currently going for Dubravka. Check out the poll on my YouTube channel. 63% of people have gone for Areola. Have Botman and Trippier. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'd probably diversify it. I didn't read the rest of your question. I probably should have first. I'd go for Areola in that instance because you've got 2 already from Newcastle. A triple up is far too excessive, I think. Now, it can go both ways, right? If they keep a clean sheet, that is massive. You know, even 2 is massive, but to have 3, that would be insane this week. But I think I'd go for Areola. Let me know what you're going to end up doing. Get Saka for a -4. Who are you selling? That's the big question. But yeah, Saka does justify most hits this week. How's it, Dylan? Sorry I'm late. No worries, Dave. Work, work, work. Yeah, don't worry. Next week is going to be very hectic for me, so I'm going to feel your pain. Now time to play, play, play. Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of summing up. Work hard, play even harder. Or is that even the right word? Maybe. So I'm going to keep Leno for the whole season. Potentially. I mean, the thing with Fulham that kind of bothers me a bit is it's difficult to predict when they keep clean sheets and also when Leno's going to produce these massive hauls. How is Crystal Palace stats against set pieces? That's a good question. I'll probably have to double check that. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think it's particularly great. I don't think it's in the bottom 3. So I think Burnley are right down there. I think they're the worst. I'll see if I can get the stat up now. And if I can, I'll put it on screen. So let me just search that for a little bit. Team stats. There's a lot of stats I have access to, but I'm not sure if I have it for set pieces. Set pieces. No, I don't think I've got access to that. Yeah, like I could maybe get like stats for specific kind of, you know, for corners, for example, or direct free kicks and stuff like that, but not for the amount conceded, which is a shame. Let's see if I can get, just in Google, Premier League set piece stats. That's a good question, good point that you raised there as well. Let's see, can I do that? Because sometimes I do see, you know, on Twitter randomly they'll say Arsenal scored the most goals from set pieces and, you know, Everton are second, stuff like that. But how many teams is it? XG. I'm trying to find it now. It's going to probably take me a while to get these. Offensive or defensive? Let's see. Interceptions per game, fouls per game. No, it's just not really. Ah, wait a minute. Well, I've got. I can get this. Okay. Wait, is this going to work? Oh, but it doesn't say goals from set pieces, does it? It just says set piece, penalties. Wait, is this even right? No, this is not even... What's this? Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, I was bugging out. Okay. For some reason, they kind of gave me the stats for a previous season, and I didn't want that. So, let's see if I can get this up. I might not get it up on screen, but I will just kind of refer to it very briefly. So... let's see, defensive stats. Okay, so goals conceded from set pieces. Is that really it? So according to this, I think... I actually don't even know what to make of this. Goal types, set pieces. Even though I put defensive stats, which is a bit weird. Okay. Well, okay, against. I think I can get this up. Okay, it did take a while for that. Sorry, it's just a new website for me. So Bournemouth, I think, have conceded the most from set pieces, according to this. I'm not sure. Let me just double check this. Once again, it's going back to a previous season, even though I put 2023, 24. I'm going to have to ignore that for now, but I'm pretty sure that the worst in terms of conceding from set pieces is Burnley. and the best from scoring from set pieces is Arsenal. Then you've got Everton, so I apologise for that. Trying to make the best of a bad situation, but yeah, it was to no avail. Sometimes these things just not as simple as it looks, especially football. Yeah, of course, I definitely agree with that. Sometimes common sense isn't the way to go. Sell Doku and get Saka for -4? Yes. Start 2 out of 4, Gusto, Region, Taylor, Doughty. I would start... That's tricky, to be honest. I'd probably go for Doughty and one of Gusto or Region, and I'd probably favour Region slightly. Give an update on Solanke. Well, Iraola talked about this yesterday, that Solanke will ultimately determine whether he's going to play or not. And if he feels pain and if there's any chance of risking an injury, he won't be risked, of course. It's going to go down to a late fitness test, according to Iraola. So he's pretty much 50-50. And according to someone with an inside source, I think Solanke is looking quite positive for him. And if he can go through the training session, or if he went through the training session, I think today, he's got one training session today on Saturday. If he goes through that without any pain, he's going to play tomorrow. So let's see what happens. We might even get information after the deadline, to be honest. KDB to Son for a -4. If De Bruyne starts, I wouldn't do it. So wait for more information. We probably get a leak in an hour's time. Will Burns start this game week, says Vishal. That's a good question. He was benched in the last game against Arsenal. That's not a guarantee, to be honest. I'm not sure if he does. Andy says start one from Doughty, Dunk or Semedo. Dunk. I'd go for Dunk. Taylor or Estupinian, don't know who to start, or should I transfer AKM? I wouldn't buy Ake, to be honest. He might keep a clean sheet this week, but he blanks in 29. He plays Liverpool away next week. If you want to buy a defender, I'd go for one of Gabriel Saliba or go for a Bournemouth defender like Senesi. I'm going to end this poll, by the way. I think it's got enough votes, and it's a very close one, actually. But Gabriel does lead it. So take a -4 hit for a defender or stick with Bodro or Stupinian. And 36% of you have gone for Gabriel. And then second, it's actually stick with Bodro or Stupinian. Then it's Senesi for a -4. Very interesting indeed. I definitely need to make defender transfers, whether I like it or not, because next week I've got Lascelles, who is useless pretty much. He doesn't play. Bodro away to Aston Villa. I would ideally not play him there. Estupinian very unlikely to start. And then you've got Ake away to Liverpool. So my defence is in need of a revamp. I'm not looking to wildcard at the moment. I can see the benefits for some people to wildcard in Gameweek 27 or 28, but my current plan is to free in 29, wildcard in 31, and to bench boost in 37. I cover all of this in my chip strategy video. But yeah, I think I might leave it for a little bit more. Be sure to cast your vote in the poll. Smash the like button as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. Loving the deadline countdown clock, lad. Thank you, Weising. It's just quite simple. I'm going to try to see if I can add some different stuff, maybe some rolling graphics and show fixtures and stuff like that. That's something I'm looking to add potentially in the future. It might take some time though, not going to lie, and I might have to confer with some graphic designers there. Akraf says, I have Dubravka, Ake, Gordon, and Nunez in the bench. Do I use the bench boost? No, I don't think so, because Nunez is, it looks like, according to the lineup I saw earlier from someone in the chat, it looks like Nunez isn't in the starting 11. Let me know where that Liverpool lineup is coming from, by the way, to those that did see it. Dubravka's okay, I guess. Gordon as well. Look, it's a decent bench, to be fair. And if he gets 15 plus points, you'd be quite happy with it, wouldn't you? But I don't know. I still think there are better bench opportunities in the future. And I might be wrong about it. I might be wrong. It should get you at least 10 plus points. But really, you're kind of targeting 15, 20 at least. Don't tell anyone, I'm definitely going for Haaland captain. You guys could captain whoever you want, but Haaland is playing against a team that's getting 20 plus shots every game at home. Yeah, that's true, that's true. I think in the last 5 games, United have conceded 100 shots, which is insane. Welcome, Marco. Hi, Dylan, hope you're well. Wavering on taking out either Foden or Palmer for Son for free this week or rolling. It's a tricky situation for you, I understand that. Son's a great option in his own right, but I wouldn't sell Foden this week. And even Palmer is a good option for 27 and 28, and also for Gameweek 30 and beyond. So I think it might be best in your situation to roll. Start Gordon or Solanke. I think at this moment in time, I would go for Gordon, but I'm very split on that. If we get confirmation before the deadline that Solanke starts, I would go for him. Start Neto or Leno? I would go for Neto. Some rumours coming out that Stupinian starts, not sure about the source. Thank you, Lager. I'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, you've got to be very careful with a lot of these leaks that you see online. to be quite honest with you. So there's still quite a lot of you watching. I do appreciate it. Let's get this stream to over 150 likes. That'd be genuinely appreciated. Thank you to those that sent in super chats today, and also all the channels and patrons for supporting the channel even further. I'm going to have a quick look on Twitter and see what I can find, but yeah, Estupinian I just don't trust at all. Let's see if I can get this news. And also the Liverpool lineup. Yeah, I don't see anything about Estupinian. If you've got any links, by the way, be sure to put them in the live chat and I will check them out. And we can verify the sources. But yeah, I don't see anything at the moment. I don't see anything. And also, yeah, I think the two things I want to look out for really is the Estupinian news, if he starts or not, and also the Liverpool leaked lineup I saw earlier. I'm not sure if that's true. So, Heidelin, here's a different approach. How about Estupinian to Saliba -4 and next week Van Dijk to Senesi for double game week? Yeah, and you know, I even talked about this earlier in my stream. I might do something similar. Instead of Saliba, it'd be Gabriel coming in, and I'd buy Senesi next week. And it's also ideal because you want to see if Senesi goes, you know, unscathed in Game Week 27. If he picks up a yellow, he's walking that tightrope, then he would need one more yellow to be suspended for 2 games, and that would be a disaster if he got that second booking in the game against Sheffield United before the second match in double game week 28. So I think ideally that is the way to play it. I think it becomes a bit more difficult when you need to take hits, but ultimately I think buying in a Gabriel Saliba this week is worthwhile. Welcome, Judy. Good to see you. Sinchenko or Estupinian to Senesi? I mean, Sinchenko probably won't play this week. He's returning from a calf injury. Estupinian just doesn't play even when he's fit. Really tricky one, to be honest. I think I'd sell Sinchenko, but yeah, both of them are sells, really. Best midfielder for 8.1 million. I'd say Bowen or Maddison would be 2 of the best midfielders. Another one that springs to mind for this week anyway is Martinelli, but longer term I'd rather go for Bowen or Maddison. Start Burn or Estupinian? Probably Burn, but there is a chance he doesn't start. Hey Dylan, thank you so much for the Douglas Luiz suggestion last week. Bought him and Bowen for KDB and Palmer for a -8 and get immediate gain of 30 points. That's massive. I'm really happy for you. Sometimes I don't follow my own advice, which is very frustrating, but I do appreciate that I did help someone out, and that's a massive gain, mate. I bought in Hwang Hee-chan, that was awful. My hope now is that Son kind of pays it off and eases the pain a little bit, but yeah, I'm not too hopeful. I do appreciate, though. That's really good, and hopefully you can gain a lot of points similar to that in the coming weeks. Planning to do Virgil and Ake to Doughty and Senesi in Game Week 28 for free. Are they good transfers? Therefore, rolling this week. Yeah, you don't need to sell Virgil or Ake this week. I'm assuming your third defender is from Arsenal. Yeah, that is the way to go. And that's how I might play it myself. That's kind of my main dilemma. Do I buy Gabriel for a -4 this week and then buy Senesi for a -4 next week? Or do I buy Senesi this week and then buy Doughty next week and have more doublers? And also, potentially, I could also open the doors for not free hitting in 29. So there's a lot to really think about still. I think in your case, it's best to roll. Bodro, Trent, Hwang Hee-chan, Estupinian, Solanke, and Nunez in my team. Wildcard is tempting me. Yeah, I can understand that. Bodro's out for this week. Hwang Hee-chan, unknown return date. Same with Trent. Estupinian doesn't even start anymore. Solanke is going to be available for Game Week 28, but he might miss out in 27. Right now, I think he's more likely to start than not. And as for Nunez, he'll probably be on the bench, but he could get some points off, you know, just with a short cameo. So I can understand why the wildcard is tempting. Yeah, just trying to think, how many changes would you make on the wild card and what are your plans? Are you going to free in 29 still with the wild card? That also plays a part in whether you should or not. Shall I use Estupinian or sell him and get someone else for a -4? My current inclination is to sell him for a -4. You can go to Senesi or a Bournemouth defender, then buy Doughty next week, and you can gain more doublets in the process that way. Palmer or Gordon, says Azzy. Palmer. And you can see it also in the in my starting 11 as well. Or Nunez. It looks like Nunez is benched. I'm not sure if that's true, by the way. I haven't seen the source. I want to see the source first before confirming if he's benched or not, but there is a chance he is. Botman to Senesi for a -4. I'd probably stick with Botman for one more week, and then you can do that transfer next week. Captain Saka or Son? I prefer Saka. So my top 5 captaincy options in order are Haaland, Saka, Son, Watkins, and Foden. Bench Solanke, Palmer, or Bailey. Reluctantly, I would bench Bailey, but it depends on any Solanke news we get. There is a chance he doesn't start. Start Leon Bailey or Dominic Solanke. Yeah, just like I said right now, as things stand, I would go for Dominic Solanke, but it is a risky pick, to be honest. With Bailey, you know he's going to start, and he's got a great fixture against Luton Town, to be honest. It's tricky. It really is. You know what? I think I'm going to go for Bailey. I'm going to change my mind there. So for both Brad's question and for Matt's, I think I'm going to slightly lean towards Leon Bailey, and that's mainly because of the yellow flag to Dom, and there is still a chance he doesn't feature at all. Langy Chan, for whom only have 5.9 million in the bank. Barkley, maybe. Yeah, if you're looking to navigate 29 without the free hit, you add another doubler for 28. I think Barkley is a decent choice, actually. He's in great form as well. Sometimes he has a good game and doesn't get goals or assists, but his goal output, or at least his goal contributions, have been quite impressive recently. Dylan, who's the best captain for my midfield? I'd say Saka, but Foden and De Bruyne are very tempting as well. Not going to lie. So Foden is 5th in my list, De Bruyne is 6th, and I do have Saka in 2nd, but yeah, they're all good options. Yeah, Douglas Luiz I wouldn't captain this week personally. If it was a home fixture, then I wouldn't be against it. Will Kivior play? I believe so. But the problem with Kivior is that Zinchenko and Tomiyasu are close to return, and yeah, I just don't really think Kivior is a long-term solution. Would you prioritize bringing in Watkins or Son this week? That's a great question. I do slightly favour Son over Watkins this week, but really tricky one because next week they're playing each other. In 29, Spurs have a slightly better fixture on paper, you could argue. Then in Gameweek 30, Spurs have a better fixture as well against Luton Town. So I think I'd slightly favour Son, but really close. Estupiñán is so frustrating. Tell me about it. He looked really promising when he first came back. He returned in 3 games in a row. He did well the first time I brought him in, got 8 points, but it's been downhill ever since. Take out KDB for Son this or next game week? I'd say next game week, but only if we get confirmation of De Bruyne starting. And of course, if De Bruyne is benched, just do the move this week. Other game week to free hit besides 29, 34, 37, even a small double game week like 36, for example, could be the way to go, because around that period, you've got Spurs with bad fixtures, but they've got a double in 36, potentially of Liverpool away and Chelsea away, but you could maybe feasibly double or triple up on Spurs that week. You could also triple up on Chelsea, and that also could allow you to sell Salah or Haaland for 1 week only, and then you can have them for 37 and 38. So there's a lot of different ways to play it, but I'd say 34, 36 or 37 do spring to mind. I cover all of this in my trip strategy guide, which I uploaded on Thursday. Bench 1, Solanke, Saka, Foden, Palmer, Son, Odegaard. Extremely difficult. No matter who you bench, there could be bench points. I think it's between Solanke and Odegaard. I think I covered your question earlier. Should I change Ake or Estupiñán for Saliba? I'd sell Estupiñán and keep Ake. Kivior's a 1 week punt. I don't mind it at all. I can't afford Saka, so I got Douglas Luiz. Is it a good choice? Well, Douglas Luiz is a good option. He's one of the highest scoring midfielders in the game. Bonus points machine on penalties, but in away matches, he's got 2 returns all season, and he's got 2 away fixtures in the next 3. So that's my concern with Douglas Luiz. But in any home game, I'd back him to do well. Probably best to bench Darwin and wait on Son with a forward line of Douglas Luiz, Palmer, Foden, Saka, Burn, Watkins and Haaland. As I just mentioned with Luiz, his away record is poor, and of course any penalty could change that. He gets a massive return yet again against Luton. Any assist or goal would most likely result in bonus points as well, but I'd actually buy Son and bench Douglas Luiz in your scenario there, Marco. That's my personal opinion. Should I bench Solanke for Douglas Luiz? I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. Any Spurs leaks? I don't think so, but just remember, Richarlison's out for 2 to 3 weeks. Pedro Porro is most likely out for another week, and Udogie is in contention to start. He has been training. Start Bowen or Solanke? I would favour Solanke just about, but of course the yellow flag is a big put-off. Bailey or Solanke, who to start? Just about go for Bailey, as I mentioned to you earlier. Can do Richarlison to Son or Hwang to Bowen, but can't afford both. Which to do? Richarlison to Son. And then next week, you can do Hwang to Bowen. I mean, well, no, you can't afford both, can you? Yeah, I'd favour Son. I'd just favour Son. Botman to Senesi for a -4. Not this week. How can I bench Douglas Luiz versus Luton? It's based on the away fixture, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. It maybe doesn't have much logic behind it, but if you also look at patterns and a player, you know, being so good at home and then so poor away, it does play a part. I think his only returns were an assist against Sheffield United in a 5-0 win, and I think he scored against Tottenham in their victory as well, but that's the only returns he's produced away from home. Can he do well this week? Of course he can, but yeah, it's just I'm a bit concerned about that. And look, if you're playing Son or Douglas Luiz, I'm picking Son all day long. Kyle, any leaks yet? That's a good question. I'm wondering the same thing myself. Take out KDB for Son this or next game week. I've covered. I'd do it next game week if De Bruyne does start and we get the confirmation before the deadline. Greetings, Dylan. Did you buy Son before the price rise? Yes, I did. You know, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do the first transfer that comes to my head, so I kind of act on instinct. And then, you know, you just scroll through Twitter or whatever it may be, and you find out everyone's going for him. So that's the way FPL has been a bit for some time now, especially this season. But yeah, now the only thing left really is my goalkeepers to kind of sort that out, the captaincy, and also to take a -4 hit, as also referenced in the poll. Sell Ake for double Arsenal or Senesi? I'm not sure I'd sell Ake this week, but if you were to, I'd rather go for... Look, for this week specifically, I'd say Arsenal all day long over Senesi. But the appeal of Senesi is the double in 28 and a good fixture in Gameweek 30 while Arsenal play Man City away. So from that perspective, I'd say Senesi. Just bear in mind, he is a suspension risk, a very big one at that. Dylan, should I start Nuri or Darwin? I'd still go for Darwin, but there is a chance he's benched. Dylan, who's the best Darwin replacement for a -4? Aside from the obvious Haalands and Watkins of the world, I'd say Ivan Toney's still up there, and he helps you cover blank Gameweek 29. Hey Dylan, start Solanke or Alvarez? I'd probably go for Solanke. Hey Dylan, I want to remove Jota and Richarlison for Son and Palmer for a -4 hit. Yeah, I'd go for it. I think both players are absolutely... They're going to justify that hit easily. Would you start Nunez over Palmer? No, I'd start Palmer. Maddison or Bowen or Son? Son. Start Pau or Doughty? Pau Torres. Start Dawson and Walker or Pau Torres and Doughty? I would go for Pau Torres and Doughty. Yeah. Just about. I know there's a clash, but I think that's the way I'd go. Wang to Son -4. Do I start him over Foden, Gordon, Palmer, or Solanke? I've had the exact same dilemma, basically. Instead of Solanke, it's Toney, though. I would go for Son for a -4 and bench Gordon. Good to see you. There's some new viewers in the chat, or people that are joining in now. So good to see you, Ali. Darwin or Solanke? Solanke. Start Gordon or Solanke? Just about Gordon, and that's purely because of Solanke's yellow flag, but if we get confirmation of Solanke starting, I'd switch to him, that's for sure. Douglas Luiz or Palmer? Palmer. Man City play tomorrow. I'll only know tomorrow if KDB starts, but sometimes these leaks can actually give you information before the deadline and over 1 day in advance. We've seen it before, so it is a possibility. It's a tricky one with De Bruyne. I think he will start, and I'm hoping he doesn't because I have him in UCL Fantasy. I want him to start in that game instead, but yeah, I think he will start against Manchester United. Palmer, Bailey, Gordon, bench 1. I would bench Gordon, actually. Maddison, Bowen, or Son? Son. I covered this already. Senesi or Doughty? Senesi. But I think what I might end up doing is buy Senesi this week and Doughty next week. Best 1 week punt this week. I think an Odegaard or Martinelli definitely spring to mind. Any team leaks? No, as far as I'm aware, there aren't. And if there are any that you see, be sure to leave it in the live chat with a link. Diaz to Son for a free transfer worth it this week or roll? Yeah, I think it's worth it. Diaz has been in good form, but Son on penalties down the middle, where he's got a good record this season. Yeah, and some people are saying he's in bad form. He's literally had 1 game since the international break that he had. So, yeah, I think Son is a no-brainer. Who would you sell for Son? Hwang or Richarlison, and why? Well, Richarlison could miss Gameweek 29, which defeats the purpose of having Richarlison, arguably. He does have a good fixture in Gameweek 30, though. And, yeah, I think I'd rather sell Hwang. Look, they're both going to go down in price. But, yeah, my preference will be selling Hwang. There's no return date for him. I don't think the injury is serious, but there is a chance he also misses Gameweek 28, when you probably most want to have him starting against Fulham at home. So, yeah, ultimately, I think they're both sells, and I'd probably sell Hwang first, potentially. I don't think it makes much difference except for budget. Obviously, selling Hwang does limit you a little bit more. Is Zabani a better, safer option than Senesi in the long term? Better, no. Safer, yes, because there's no suspension risk. At the moment, Demantis, it's to free hit in 29, wildcard 31, and bench boost 37. Salah to KDB or Hwang to Palmer? Hwang to Palmer. However, look, KDB is great for this week, but I wouldn't buy him because he's going to play Liverpool next week. He might not even start that game, and he's also going to blank in 29. Yeah, I think Hwang to Palmer is the better move of the two. You could do Salah to Son for a -4, or even do both of those transfers you say. But yeah, Hwang to Palmer is a no-brainer. Best captain and why? It's between Haaland and Saka. Manchester United are poor defensively. Haaland has a great record against them. There's a lot of reasons why, which I cover throughout all my videos and also in the stream earlier. Dylan, thank you so much. Good luck in this game week. Likewise, Timmy. Hi, I have a midfield of Saka, Foden, Palmer, Gross, and Hwang Hee-chan. Should I get Son by removing Gross for free, or Chan and Estupinian for Zabani and Son for a -4? I'd go for the -4 option only if you are struggling to field free defenders. So if Estupinian has to start for you, yeah, that's not looking too good, is it? You could be down to just the 1 point from him, guaranteed. I'd probably lean towards the -4 option and keeping Gross. Start Konsa or Ake? I'd start Ake. Stark says, hi mate, thoughts on Gusto in for Estupinian, free hit 29 locked? No. I don't expect Chelsea to keep a clean sheet against Brentford or Newcastle. If you want a defender for the next 2 game weeks, I think Arsenal are right up there. So Gabriel Saliba. Start Cash or Nunez? I'd probably still go for Nunez, actually. Even if he's benched, he could do something there with a brief cameo. Jovan says, hi Dylan, bench 1. Gordon, Solanke, Palmer, Gross, KDB. It's between Gordon and Solanke, and right now, yeah, it's so tricky, to be honest. It really is. I said earlier to maybe go for Gordon and bench Solanke because of the yellow flag, but if you're backing Solanke to start, I think the answer is bench Gordon. And very reluctantly, of course, because he's been so good in away games. You know what? You've also got Gross, actually. I'd probably bench Gross. I think I'd bench Gross. And the next one to bench would be Gordon. I'm kind of split between some people like Gordon and Solanke. I'm very 50-50 on those calls, but I think I'd bench Gross. Bodder will play? No. 10 players with a -8 or free hit 29. Tricky one. If you're covering most of the key options in 29, so you've got you've got Tony, Watkins, Son, Bowen, another Spurs midfielder, then yeah, I'd just stick with the -8. Gabriel, Senesi, Gusto, Doughty, and Taylor, which free to start? Gabriel has to start, mate. That's very simple. Apart from that, I'd go for Senesi and probably Gusto, but not really backing any of Gusto, Doughty, or Taylor to do well. Start 3 and bench 1. You bench Dallo. You bench Dallo, don't you? Start 3 and bench 1. Don't you mean bench 2? But yeah, if it's bench 2, I would drop Kilman and Dallo. KDB to Son versus Hwang to Bowen. Bench Solanke or Bowen versus Roll. That's tricky. That's very tricky. I think I would do Hwang to Bowen in your scenario because I do back KDB to start and perform well against Man United. Look, it's up to you, Hassan. If you back Son to score the most points, go for him. Back your gut, trust your instincts. Son is 3rd in my captaincy ranking this week. I'm going to end the poll, by the way. We do have over 300 votes, and 36% of you have gone for Gabriel for a -4 hit. In 2nd is Stick with Bodro and Estupinian. And in 3rd is Senesi for a -4 hit. And in last is another Bournemouth defender for a -4. So I'm going to end that. Gabriel is the winner. I think for this week specifically, Gabriel is the no-brainer move for me this week. But if I buy Senesi now, I could also buy Doughty next week and have 3 doublers and 28. And also slightly navigate 29. And that could help me potentially save the free hit for later in the season, which is still an option for me. I do currently have 5 players featuring in blank Gameweek 29. Start Doughty, Walker, or Stupinian. I'd go for Walker. Normas says, hi Dylan, bench 1, Palmer, Tony, Bowen, or Foden. Really tricky one, mate. If I had to pick one, it's probably Bowen. Thank you, Aru. Thinking of taking a -4 to Senesi for Stupinian. Yeah. I'm also considering something similar, if not Gabriel. Overall, it is worth it because Senesi doubles in 28, good fixture in 30. But if he picks up those 2 yellow cards, he's out for 2 games, and that could be a massive blow. So there is a risk, but I think it's worth it. help can a midfielder auto-sub a forward in FPL? Yes. So long as you have a valid formation, that could definitely be the case. Even a defender can come on for a forward. So the answer is yes. Start a Dingra or Trossard? Trossard. But the thing is with Trossard, there is a chance he doesn't start. Now, Jorginho is mainly left for the big games or, you know, against so-called tougher opposition. You know, Newcastle home and away, Liverpool at home, Man City at home. So I think the way Arsenal will line up is with Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Kivior, Rice, Odegaard, Havertz, and then Saka, Trossard, and Martinelli. The big issue with Trossard, though, is that he did suffer a little bit of an injury. He had a bit of a knock, and that's why he didn't start the last game as well. Bowen or Maddison, choose one. For this week, Maddison. Longer term, I'd probably still go for Maddison, actually, to be fair. Just because of the Gameweek 30 fixture. Slightly more appealing 29 fixture as well. I think Bowen is a bit safer. He's also more of a talismanic figure, so to speak. Maddison is very injury prone, I'm not going to lie to you, but I'd probably go for Maddison. Very close call, though. Would you get Son for Palmer or Foden, who don't play in 29, or for Douglas Luiz? Planning to get 10 out in 29 for 2 hits and save the wildcard free hit. Son for Foden is a good transfer overall, but it's the timing. I wouldn't sell Foden this week. He's going to start, and I think he's going to do very well against Man United. As for Palmer, yeah, if I had to pick one, it's tricky because Palmer's better in 28 than Foden. So tricky. Really tricky, to be honest. I think the answer is sell Palmer. Bench Kudus, Alvarez may not start, or Gross. I would bench... Really tricky one, actually. This is probably the toughest question I've had, in my opinion. I think I'd bench Kudus. Dare I say. Hi, Dylan. Would you start Van Dijk or Bradley versus Forest? Bradley has more assist potential. Van Dijk has been a menace from set pieces recently. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, you are right, Ali. Jesus is back, but that doesn't mean he's going to start for sure. I think he'll be gradually eased in. I saw a post from a reliable source. I think it was Sami Mokbel from the Daily Mail. He said that Arsenal are going to ease Gabriel Jesus this season. They're going to manage his minutes to ensure that the knee issues don't flare up. So I'm not entirely sure Jesus starts against Sheffield United, to be honest. He might be right, and Trossard just had an injury problem or a small knock, but I'm not necessarily sure if Jesus is a big problem for Trossard this week. I might be wrong. I've already done a -8. Should I do a -12? No. You don't... That makes no sense to sell Gabriel this week for a hit when he's playing Sheffield United. I think it makes no sense. So the answer is no. Mustafa says start 1. Probably Darwin Nunez. Taylor's going to start. The other 2 probably won't, but Darwin has the highest ceiling, so I'm going to stick to him. Wang Yichan to Bowen or Maddison? Like I mentioned earlier, just about I'd go for Maddison. There's not much to separate them. dr.k34 says Trent and Hwang to Son and Doughty for a -4. Having Foden, Saka, Bowen, Palmer, and 3 forwards in the team. The answer is... Well, not the answer. My suggestion would be... I think I'd go for it, especially if you're not free hitting in 29 there, mate. Is Solanke for a -4 worth it for Adebayo? I wouldn't do it this week. I'd wait another week. I know Adebayo's probably going to miss out, but I wouldn't buy Solanke this week for a hit. Any news on Solanke starting? I think I covered your question Sing earlier. So it's 50-50 pretty much. So it's going to be down to a late fitness test. If Solanke trains today without any pain and he's ready to start, he's feeling good, he's going to play. But that is, you know, I can't tell you that because who knows what he's going to feel. Only Iraola and the Bournemouth camp are going to know that. So it's so tricky. It's basically just a guess. You're guessing this. And in my opinion, Solanke will start and he will play, but that's a big if. Very big if. What to do with Estupinian? Got Doughty on the bench. I mean, Doughty isn't ideal this week. I don't think he keeps a clean sheet, and he could even get 0-1 points. But he's got attacking potential, which you could slightly fall back on. If you can sell Estupinian for free, I'd 100% do it. No questions asked to Senesi or Gabriel, Saliba, whoever it may be. If it's for a -4, it's a bit trickier, but I think I'd still go with it. And I might end up doing it now in the next 45 minutes or so. As you can see in the countdown, we do have just over 42 minutes until the deadline. Who to start, Gordon or Palmer? I would go for Palmer. Who would you bench, Gross or Palmer? I'd bench Gross. Bench Taylor Robinson, says Michael. I'd probably bench Robinson. Don't expect any of them to do well, though. To be quite honest with you. Son or Havertz, Son all day long. Bench Palmer or Bowen, I'd bench Bowen. Bench one of Foden, Palmer, Bowen or Solanke. A lot of benching headaches this week. So for you, Jack, I would bench Bowen. Very reluctantly, may I add. Would you sell KDB for Son? Only if we get confirmation of KDB being benched before the deadline. If we get that information, I'd do it 100%. Otherwise, I'd be inclined to keep KDB for this Man United fixture. Saliba or Senesi for a -4, or play Stupinian or Taylor. I'd go for the -4 option, and I'm in your boat in terms of buying Gabriel or Senesi. There are pros and cons for either side. My current gut feeling is to go for Gabriel, and in your case, Saliba. Start Tony or Palmer. I'd go for Palmer. No worrising. Ashish, thank you very much as well. Is Son even in your thoughts? Yes, he's third in my list, but I do prefer Saka and Haaland this week. Marius says KDB or Foden to Son for a -4. Worth it? It's so difficult because there is a chance KDB is benched. It's possible, and if that's the case, I think a -4 for Son is worth it even from this week. And overall, will the hit pay off? Yes, but I really think De Bruyne and Foden could go crazy this week. I really do. I back them both to do extremely well if they start. They're in my top 6 for captaincy options. But Son is even better. Do I expect Son to outscore Foden or KDB by 4 points or more if they all start? My answer is no. So, yeah, if you're backing KDB to be benched, I'd do it. Otherwise, I think I'd hold on for one more week and buy Son against Aston Villa, where he could still do very well, by the way. Is Nunez starting? I honestly am not sure. I saw someone mention that a leak said that he isn't. I'm not sure who the leak is, so I'm not going to really back that claim. Need to use a free transfer this week. Is Hwang to Gross a good move? I wouldn't buy Gross now. Yeah, sure, he's good for the next 2. But he blanks in 29. In Gameweek 30 and 31, poor fixtures. Yeah, with the fixture swing coming up, I wouldn't buy Gross. Play Luiz or Tony? I would play Tony. Colwill or Taylor? Probably Colwill. Tony or Watkins, and why? Watkins. Luton Town just conceded 6 goals to Manchester City. Tony, look, he's been so good throughout most of his Brentford career, but I just think Watkins this season is the best forward in the game. I think he's the better option out of the 2. And also, Tony's never scored against Chelsea, which, to be honest, he could well score this week, and I'm hoping he does, but records sometimes do play a part. Hwang to Son and bench Solanke. I don't have a bench. I probably would, yeah. Idle Bradley or Senesi. This week, Bradley. Courage says going with Haaland. Excuse me. For a captaincy, Haaland's got beef with Man U. That's one way to put it. He scored a brace against them in the reverse fixture, a hat-trick at the Etihad in his only meeting with them. So, yeah, there's a lot to like with the Haaland captaincy, and he just scored 5 goals. Just wondering why you're benching Gordon. Look, it's not an easy decision. It was my key reason why I held off from buying Son for so long. I only did it last night. But with Gordon, a lot of his returns are quite low, so he gets a lot of 4, 5, 6 pointers, and that wouldn't really damage you. I am backing Son to do really well this week, and he's also... The thing with Son is he opens up so many avenues. He allows you to maybe navigate 29 without the free hit. In Gameweek 30, whether you free hit or not, he's got a great fixture against Luton Town. And I also back Son to do very well, playing down the middle, on penalties. He's got a great record playing down the middle this season. And ultimately, everything's going to go through him. He's going to get the bulk of the big chances. And in terms of clinical finishes, Son is probably top 3 in the league. So that's why I've gone for it. In terms of Gordon compared to Tony and Palmer, that is certainly a debate to be had. But with Palmer, he averages more points per game than Gordon, and he's got a much higher ceiling. Tony Gordon is actually my main dilemma, and maybe Gordon is the one to start over Ivan Toney, but I am backing Tony to get a return finally against Chelsea. Tony or Solanke, this week, assuming he starts, it'd be Solanke. And also in Gameweek 28, it goes without saying Solanke's better as well. Bench Palmer, Maddison or Tony, probably Tony. Callum says start Estupinian or Doughty. I would go for... I'd start Estupinian just in case, but to be honest, I don't think he starts. That's the big question and the big problem. Jurriën Timber or Ben White to start. Timber is in training now, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. There's no chance I think he starts against Sheffield United. He just came back from an ACL back in August, and I think he's going to be maybe in the squad. He might be in the squad very soon, but in terms of starting games, I think it's going to be another month. I really think he'll be eased back in. So White is going to start. There's no doubt about that. Start Ariel Dubravka. I've currently got Dubravka, but in your scenario, the thing is with Burn, though, he might not start. Just bear that in mind. It could be Livramento, Trippier as the fullbacks. I think I'd maybe go for Areola in your scenario, but just bear in mind, Burn might not start in the first place. When do you plan on wildcarding? Gameweek 31. Estupinian, sell for an Arsenal defender or Senesi. Sofa score has Purvis Estupinian starting. Yeah, but I would take the predicted lineups with a pinch of salt, to be honest. Thank you, Juan Carvajal. I appreciate it. Is Borro starting this week? No. Ange Postecoglou said that Borro is probably another week away. That's his words. I don't think he starts. He's just in my starting 11 because I've got no one else, just Estupinian and Lascelles. That's why I probably need to take a hit to bolster my defense. Would you sell Huang for a -4? Then bench that player in case Solanke doesn't play. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. I know what you're doing. You're having that contingency plan just in case, but if anything, I'd start this player you're bringing in for a -4 and maybe bench Solanke. But I do understand your dilemma. Ultimately, I think it is worth it with Gameweek 28 in mind. You've got Man City and Liverpool playing each other, so ultimately you might need to make that midfielder transfer anyway. City playing tomorrow, so that will get news. We have got it before, though, a day in advance, just to let you know, but maybe you're right. Any update on Adebayo? Let me just get the latest comments. And thank you, by the way, for helping us reach a good number of likes. Let's get this stream to over 200. We're only 34 away. Let's be sure to get to that before the deadline. We've still got over half an hour left. So in terms of Adebayo injury updates, so this was from last week. So he's still out. Like quite a lot of teams at the moment, we've got a good number of important players missing. So there's no return date. He's currently being assessed. Yeah, it's not looking good for Gameweek 27. There is a chance he features for Gameweek 28, but there's nothing concrete on Adebayo from Rob Edwards, unfortunately. So not really any updates since the 26th of February, unfortunately. Should I consider bench boost if I have Areola, Konsa, Taylor, and Foden, Son? You'd have Foden and Son on your bench. I'm just wondering what your attacking players are. Those players alone, Foden or Son, you know, justify a bench boost, you could argue, but I'm not keen on the rest. Taylor, I don't expect anything there, probably a 2-pointer. Konsa is 50-50 whether he starts or not, and Areola, probably the same thing as Taylor. You don't expect much from him, maybe 2 or 3 points. So it's a big if. I think Foden or Son is good enough for the bench boost, but I'm not really sure about that. Hi Dylan, would you sell Estupinian this week for Zabani? Don't think Estupinian starts, to be honest. Likewise. Not a big fan of Zabani, but yeah, I probably would with Gameweek 28 and 30 in mind. Start Darwin or Gordon. I'd go for Gordon. Ian Ali says Luis, Foden, Saka, Bowen, Diaz, any to replace with a Brighton player like Gross or a Liverpool midfielder for a -4 hit. I wouldn't take a -4 hit for a Brighton midfielder now, and Gross is obviously the best pick, but 2 good fixtures coming up, then a blank in 29, and then poor fixtures afterwards. So I don't think it's the time to buy Pascal Gross. As for Liverpool midfielders, I think you wait until Gameweek 30. So if you want to buy a midfielder from -4, I think you're looking at maybe a second Arsenal midfielder for a 2-game-week pun, or I think even better still, you go for a Bailey. I think you go for a Bailey or a Maddison or a Son, and I think Son's the best of the lot there, Ali. Abe says the problem with my defense is that I have Van Dijk, Estupinian, Bell, Gabriel, and Baldock. That's why I think getting Zabani and Kirkes is better. Choose one. My slight preference is Kirkes, but as I mentioned earlier, be sure to rewind and check my stats comparisons. The underlying numbers are awful for both, so don't expect any, attacking returns really. It's possible, especially in a double game week, but it's still not very likely. I do prefer Senesi, to be honest. I think he's the most likely to get a goal or assist, and also subsequently bonus points, but yeah, if you had to pick one Bournemouth defender, it'd be Kirkes. Start Dubravka or Kelleher. I would go for Kelleher, but just about. Would you bring in Son for Foden for a -4? No, I don't think I would. Captain Saka, Haaland, Watkins, or Gakpo? Gakpo wouldn't enter my thinking, to be honest. Tricky one between the 3 you mentioned, but it's probably Haaland for me. Pick one, Palmer, Douglas Luiz, or Bailey, says Ashraf. Palmer. Alvarez or Gordon? Really close. I'd probably go for Gordon. Need to choose between Saka and Son for Hwang. Still don't know if I should do a -8 for both and Gabriel. I talked about this with you on the Discord server yesterday, Goldhead. I would do the -8, but I can understand why you wouldn't want to sell Trippier for an additional hit, and that's why I raised to you in the first place. If you had to pick between Saka and Son, I think I'd go for Son, purely because he also opens up the possibility of not free hitting in 29, and he's got a better fixture in Gameweek 30. I think that's why I'd go for Son over Saka, even though Saka is arguably better this week. Start Leno or Areola, says Vincent. I'd go for Areola. Phobia Isaac says, I have Trippier, Dubravka, and Areola. Start Dubravka or Areola. Probably Areola, but sometimes these double ups can pay off, and Wolves have some injury problems in the front line. Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan are currently out. Bench Tony or Gross, says Shamsul. I'd probably bench Gross, actually, but it's a close call. Dylan, I bench Pau Torres. It has been some time. Hope you're doing well. Likewise, Chu. It's good to see you as always. Yeah, with Pau Torres, I don't know who you're starting over him, but he's not guaranteed to start with his recent injury problems. Should I do this, sell Bowen and get Eze because he's going to play today? I wouldn't sell Bowen, especially if you're looking to not free it in 29. I don't think it makes sense to sell Bowen. Alvarez over Gordon. I mentioned this earlier, teammate. I probably would start Gordon, but if we get confirmation of Alvarez starting, it's a very close call if that's the case, and you probably would expect him to start, really. Start Palmer or Gross. I'd go for Palmer. Nunez start. Earlier I said I think he does, but I think as Drafthound suggests, that front three of Diaz, Elliott and Gakpo does make sense, and Nunez as a super sub to ease him back in. I think right now my answer will be no. Vincent says, is it worth to sell Foden for Son? Overall, it is worth it, but I'm just thinking about this week specifically. I think Foden's a great option. You ideally wouldn't want to sell him. Play Taylor or Stupinian for a -4 or -4 for Senesi. I think my answer will be -4 for Senesi. That's what I might end up doing myself, to be honest. My opinion, in 28 fixtures, the best, and only one time for bench boost. Not trusting bench boost for 34, and especially for 37, will be a lot of rotation. You might be right, some teams might heavily rotate, but there could still be a lot to play for in terms of relegation battles, top 4 races, and also the title race. And if that's the case, yeah, maybe the bench boost in 37 looks great. So it's very circumstantial. 28 bench boost doesn't look bad for a lot of people, though. Thoughts on captaining Watkins? He's 4th in my list, only behind Haaland, Saka, and Watkins. Sorry, Saka and Son. Yeah, I think Watkins is a good option. He's playing a team that just conceded 6 after all. Bring in Maddison or Son? I'd bring in Son. Saka captain okay? Of course he is, and his effective ownership will be quite high. What rank is he at? 2nd for me, but it's very close between him and Erling Haaland. Everyone has the same team. YouTube has the game destroyed. Is it? I hope that's not the case in terms of everyone having the same team, but sometimes a transfer is kind of a no-brainer, as people say. I've said it as well, to be honest. Like Son for Hwang is a huge upgrade, and you're getting rid of a player who's red flagged. And unfortunately, it does lead to a lot of groupthink, herd mentality, a lot of these terms that are thrown about. Sometimes I do agree, it is a bit frustrating. That's why I like UCL Fantasy, because it's very open and people go for different players, even though you sometimes have a limited pool. You know, I think UCL Fantasy tends to get a bit more template when you get to the very end of the competition, but when you first start off, it's very interesting. Bench Bailey or Palmer? I'd bench Bailey very reluctantly. I think he's a good option this week. Bench Solanke, Odegaard or Palmer? Probably bench Odegaard because I expect Solanke to start. Jeff Rogers says bench one of Solanke, Douglas Luiz and Gross. Douglas Luiz. Start Stupinian or Konsa? I would start Konsa. Bailey or Palmer? And should I bench Bradley or Senesi? I'd bench Senesi, and I would go for Palmer. Gross to Son this week, no free hit 29, says Hado. Yes, I'd definitely do it. As you mentioned there, no free in 29. You also have a great fixture in 30. Son has a great record against Aston Villa, 6 goals in 8 games. His opponent in Gameweek 28. And against Crystal Palace, he scored 8 times against them. So the answer is Gross to Son. Top 3 options of captaincy this game week: Haaland, Saka, Son. Shadow says, I haven't used the wildcard chip yet. Does that mean I have 2 chips now? No, you just have the 1. If you didn't use the wildcard in the first half of the season, that gets burned. So if you use a wildcard now, that's it for the rest of the campaign. Footy Gamer Fact says, Bench 1. Probably Gordon from those. In fact, I definitely bench Gordon unless we get confirmation of De Bruyne being benched. In that case, I'd sell De Bruyne ideally, but if not, you just start Gordon over the Belgian. Would you start Cash or Ake? Probably Ake, to be honest. Buy Bowen for Hwang Hee-chan? Yeah, especially if you aren't free hitting in 29. Estupinian to Senesi and Gross to Son for a minus forces lager? Yes, is my answer. And I'm looking at something similar, if not identical. We are close to 200 likes, by the way. Be sure to plug away. We're on 24 likes from that milestone. Let's be sure to do that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also get your questions in as we're locking our teams in for the deadline. We've got just under 27 minutes left. Hey, KDB and Foden to Son and Palmer for a -4? No. Don't sell 2 Man City attackers when they've got Man United, in my opinion, especially for a hit. You could do 1 for free, that's fine, but both for a hit is the wrong call, in my opinion. Play Taylor or Estupinian. I don't think Estupinian starts, but if you've got a feeling he does, I'd start Estupinian, that's for sure. And I do understand that, you know, for those wildcarding in 28, it makes sense not to take a hit now. I have the same 8 attackers as you, just Solanke, not Tony. Similar dilemma to start Solanke or Gordon. I think I'd go for Solanke still, because I personally think Solanke starts, but it's down to a late fitness test. Bear that in mind. There is a chance he doesn't feature at all. I actually sold Gross a couple of weeks ago, just when he started entering his great form. So ever since I sold him, he hasn't blanked, so maybe I was the curse. I sold Hwang Hee-chan instead. But it's a very similar set of moves. I'd be selling Estupinian to Gabriel or Senesi. Should I start Darwin or 8 Nuri? I'd start Darwin. Clifford says, hi Dylan, bench Bradley or Senesi? I'd bench Senesi there. Start 1 says Adnan, Doughty, Pau or Taylor? I'd go for Pau Torres. Hill Kobe says, start Van Heck, Burn or Borro? I have Gabriel and Botman as my other 2. Borro will most likely not play this weekend. Postecoglou said himself he's probably out for another week. So out of those 3, you probably go for Van Heck. I think Dan Burn can also be benched. If you're expecting Burn to start, though, I'd probably just go for him against the Wolves side with 2 key injuries in the forward line. Rayhan says, sell Hwang and get Son to play over Bowen or Solanke. Yes, I would do it, and I'd bench Bowen. Start Havertz, Gross or Kulusevski. Probably Gross from those 3. Blood Type Arsenal says, good luck this week, brother. Clutch settings as always. The temptation is strong for a Saka captaincy. Please advise. Look, if you back Saka to score the most points, mate, go for it. Back your gut. I think Saka and Haaland will both be over 100% effective ownership or around that. One of them might be lower. I think Saka will be the one with maybe 95 to 100%. So it's not going to be a differential captain by any means, but yeah, I really like Saka. I think the pros for captaining him over Haaland are facing the worst defence in the league. Also, the fact that he's a midfielder, extra point for scoring a goal and a clean sheet. Better form this year. He's got 7 goals in 2024, more than any other player. Erling Haaland's only got 3 goals and 2 assists in the Premier League in that time frame. And he's also missed a lot of big chances in the Premier League, even in the FA Cup. He scored 5 goals. I'm not even going to mention the 2 big chances he missed, to be honest. But with Haaland, you know what you're going to get, really. I think with Saka as well. Look, with the Manchester derby here with Haaland, I think Man United can turn up like they did against Liverpool at Anfield. That can play a part, but they've conceded 100 shots in the last 5 games. And in terms of the most shots conceded over the season, United are second bottom, only behind Sheffield United. So I think there's pros and cons for both. I'm currently going for Haaland, and I think one key reason why is his record against Manchester United. A hat-trick last year at the Etihad and a brace at Old Trafford in the reverse fixture, but really close. Really close, to be honest. Start Solanke or Neto? I'd go for Solanke. And in this question, I'd go for Palmer. Do you think Palmer and Gordon will score more total points than Son? Yes, would be my answer. Start Taylor or Burn? Burn, but I'm not sure if he starts. Who to buy for Hwang? Budget, no problem. Then I'd go for Son. Seems very template, very boring, but he covers 29, Gameweek 30, good fixtures in the next 2. I'd go for Son. What's the best Gameweek for wildcard? Team dependent. But for me personally, I'm looking at Gameweek 31. Captain Saka or Watkins? Saka. Watkins is 4th in my list. What's your highest rank? In FPL, I think it's 15k. I need to double check that. But I believe it's 15k. I've consistently finished in the top 70k. That's pretty much you know, what I've done. In UCL Fantasy, my rank is even higher. I typically average, well, I'm easily get into the top 5k. That's my aim for this season as well. And also in other fantasy games, Euro Fantasy Football and F1 Fantasy, also very high ranks too. But yeah, FPL, pretty much always finish in the top 70k. Start Dubravka Areola. I'm currently going for Dubravka. You can see it there. Is Burns starting? I'm not sure, to be honest. Got Foden and De Bruyne. Should I get Son for one of them or bank the transfer? I'd probably bank the transfer. If De Bruyne is benched and we find out before the deadline, I'd sell him to Son very easily, but that's a big if. I'm not sure if we get that news before the deadline. Sell Hwang or Richarlison to Son. I'd sell Hwang, but Richarlison is a doubt for Gameweek 29, which defeats the purpose and the main appeal of the Brazilian. Start Gordon or Tony. You can see it from my benching order and stuff. I'm currently got Gordon on the bench, so refer to my team as well for some of these questions, please. Solanke starts as phobia. I'm not sure where you got that from. Be sure to let me know. Start Tavernier or Darwin. Darwin. I think Gallagher's the Chelsea player to go for. FPL-wise, I don't agree, to be honest. I think Palmer's far better. Is spending all funds on Hwang to Son worth it? Depends on your team structure, your future transfers, what's your chip strategy. There's a lot that really plays a part in the definitive answer to that. But overall, I think Son is genuinely worth all the funds. Sell Stupinian for Gabriel? Yes, but as you mentioned, Gameweek 30 against Man City, it's very unlikely, almost impossible, I'd say, for Arsenal to keep a clean sheet against Man City. It might be tight, like it was at the Emirates, but yeah, you'd still back Man City to score there. Start Gordon or Tony? I would go for Tony. Once again, refer to my starting 11 for some of these questions. -4 for Son. In most cases, I'd say yes, but who are you selling? Who would you bench as a result? That should also play a part. Van Dijk, what's that? Van der Ven, Senesi, Cash or Powell? I had to pick one, what to buy, to start. I'm not sure what the question is, but if it's to buy, it's probably Senesi, to be honest. Just the Parky plus his team. -4, Doughty for Stupinian. -8, Bowen for Chan. I don't think I'd take a -8, to be honest. In terms of your defenders, I don't think you need to take a hit this week, just the Parky in general. So just go for Areola, Gabriel, Walker, Trippier. I'd also go for Son, Saka, Palmer, Foden. Yeah, I think that speaks for itself. You can maybe do Bowen in for Hwang Hee-chan for a -4, maybe, but I don't think you need to take hits, mate. If I saw Trippier and Gordon, watched them bang it this week, might wildcard in 28, by the way. Yeah, it's good to have your options open. And that's why Son is a good transfer by any kind of definition. He covers 29, great fixture in 30, great fixture right now, and he's also on penalties, out of position, everything you really want to love there. Hey, Jeff. My name is not Jeff, but thank you. Saka or Watkins captain. Saka is second in my list. Watkins is fourth. Start Son or Foden. Son, if I had to pick one, but don't bench Foden. I'm looking to free in 29. I have one free transfer. I need to sell Hwang. For 27, 28, 30, would you buy Maddison or Odegaard? Maddison. Welcome, Jeff. Good to see you. Or maybe you were saying hi to Jeff there, so I do apologize to Abdul. I do apologize. Sorry. Start Doughty or Gusto? Probably Gusto. Lawson, Robertson, and Hwang to Gusto and Bowen -4. Now, Robertson could start. There is still a chance he does. Of course, Tsimikas is available now, so they don't need to rush Robertson back from any potential injury. But overall, yes, I want to go for Gusto, though. That's my problem. Bowen is a good transfer, but Gusto, there's much better you can go for. Gabriel, Saliba, Senesi, Doughty even, not to mention players that feature in 29 as well. Dylan, there are no leaks as of late other than Newcastle. Let me know what the Newcastle leaks are. I genuinely appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very hesitant when it comes to these leaks that I see. Bodro, no, I don't think he's playing. I'm probably going to make a transfer, to be honest. So, yeah, expect a late -4 hit to be taking place there. Okay, thank you to Abdel. I'm going to bring this up on Discord. I think he's got... Okay, thank you. So this was an answer to a question that was posed earlier. So, expected, let's see. Completed dead ball passes. Okay. Okay, there's different... Yeah, there's different, obviously, metrics there. Okay. I'm going to have to double check that after. But yeah, Spurs not the best at set pieces, says Abdella. Fair enough. Then again, though, that's only one part of it. There's still more, like goals conceded from set pieces, chances conceded, and also the ones generated. Ake to Gabriel for a hit, or to Senesi. No, I wouldn't sell Ake for a hit this week. No. Bench one of Foden, Palmer, Bowen, or Solanke. I would bench Bowen. Dylan, Richarlison to Bowen or Odegaard, is a -4 hit worth it? I think so, because Richarlison might not even feature in Gameweek 29. Odegaard this week is the best play, but when you're also looking at 28 and 30 and 29, Bowen is the one to go for. Start Havertz, Gross, Douglas Luiz, or Kulusevski. Probably Gross from those four. Sell Taylor to Senesi for a -4. Yes, just about I'd go for it. Do you think Botman will play? Yes. Abdul there says, well done your cup win to Atoms. Huang for Son for a -4. Yes, and that's what I probably will end up doing, because I'm going to take a hit, I think. Is Son mandatory this week? Not necessarily. If you've got a good, attacking 8, which to be honest I did, and you've also got like a De Bruyne there, I'd be tempted to hold for another week. But Son is a good transfer either in 27, 28, or 29. Thank you, Aru. Think you could do a -4 hit to any Bournemouth defender for Stupinian? Yes, and like I said, my likely transfer now is Estupinian to one of Senesi or Gabriel. I think that's what my final plan is going to be. Ake to Gabriel for a hit. Like I said, no. I wouldn't take a hit to sell Ake. I think he starts. Kevin to Son. Look, it will pay off, but my problem with that is selling De Bruyne at home to Man United. Overall, it is worth it. Any news on Darwin? No, I don't think so. Not from a reliable source, to be honest. What's the plan? Like I said, wildcard in 31, free at 29 is my current plan, and bench boost 37, but I am flexible. They might change, of course. What were the Newcastle leaks? I'm not sure. Let's see what Atoms has to say. I think he put it in the chat just now. Willock, Botman, Dan Burn, Dubravka start. Same guy says he heard Solanke makes the squad tomorrow. Makes the squad, but is he going to start? Let's see. But thank you for that, Nuclear Lamps. I appreciate it. No City Darwin leaks, I presume. I don't think so. Not from a source you can trust. Saka or Haaland for captain. Really close. I really think it goes down to the wire, but Haaland just about edges it for me due to his record against Man United. Gordon or Palmer? I'd go for Palmer. Zabini or Senesi? Senesi, but the big problem with the Argentine is the yellow cards. 2 more, and he gets a 2-game suspension. Bench Senesi over Share? I think so. Thank you, Ashish. Start Palmer or Neto? I would go for Palmer. Estupinian won't start for sure. I wouldn't say for sure, not 100%, but with Lamptey being available and with Igor Julio playing as a left back at times, I just don't really know about Estupinian, to be honest. I'm not really feeling it. Would you start Garnacho or Kabore? I would start Garnacho, dare I say. I don't have Haaland. Should I play the wild card? You don't need to wildcard just to buy in Haaland, because in Gameweek 28 he plays Liverpool, then he blanks in 29, then it's Arsenal in Gameweek 30. So I wouldn't wildcard just to buy Haaland. Start Garnacho or Nunez? I would go for Nunez, or a -4 Nunez to Solanke, or a Stupinian to Senesi. I'd either start Nunez or take a -4 hit for Senesi. And look, to be honest, if you back Solanke to start, it's not a bad hit to take, but there is still a chance he doesn't start. Yeah, Mbumo is still injured. That is confirmed by Thomas Frank. He could be available for Gameweek 29, though. He's a very good option for that game week if he's fit. Bench Doughty or Alex Moreno? I would bench Doughty. Bradley or Gusto? Bradley. El Cesar says bench 1. I think you've asked this before, mate, and I'm probably going to have to bench Odegaard there. I'm trying to spread my hits between now and 29 to avoid free hit. My current plan is a -4, -8 this week, and a -4 in 29, giving me 9 players. Yep. Shall I avoid Bournemouth defence now, as I can't play in 29? The thing is, though, Twisted Parky, even if you go for a Senesi or another Bournemouth defender, but you back them to keep a clean sheet, and you don't with Luton Town, I might suggest going for that instead, and you have 8 players in 29. But Doughty at home to Forest, I mean, it's a good fixture on paper, but I don't expect Luton Town to keep a clean sheet there. Overall, with your plan, though, I think it's probably best to go for Doughty, and the best Bournemouth defender is Senesi, and he is a risk in terms of yellow cards, so it might be best for you to just go for Doughty. Like I said, Abir, I did answer your question earlier. Kirkes is my slight preference over Zabani. I'm not a big fan of either, but I would pick Kirkes. Diaz to Son for a -4, or Huang to Son, and Van Dijk to Senesi -8, says Safir. I would go for the -4 option. I wouldn't sell Van Dijk for a hit this week. You can always buy Senesi next week there. Robertson, Van Dijk, Diaz start from Anfield Insight. Okay. It rings a bell there. I'm not sure if he does play. Darwin Nunez benched according to Lazy FPL. Yeah, they're reliable. I think they only got one thing wrong once, and that was due to Grealish getting an illness after they released the news. So yeah, Lazy FPL is very reliable. Apparently Darwin Nunez is benched. Thank you there, Nuclear Atoms. I appreciate it. Bradley or Senesi? Bradley this week. Chris Barnes says Kelleher and Areola, or Kelleher and Dubravka for the rest of the season. Probably Kelleher and Areola, to be honest. I do prefer Areola. And also Nick Pope is in training, although it will take him some time to get back. But for the rest of the season, I'd go for Areola over Dubravka. Thank you, Sophia. As he says, smash the like button. We are 3 likes away from 200. It'd be greatly appreciated if we get to that before the deadline, which is 12 minutes away. Let's see what else we have. We have covered a lot of questions today. Barkley, Sarabia, bench 1. I would bench Sarabia. Pick 1, Udogie, Saliba, Bradley. Already have Gabriel, though. I would pick Saliba. In terms of, look, if it's a question of who to start, it's definitely Saliba. In order to buy, Udogie is arguably the best because he features in 29, and it depends on your chip strategy, of course, but Saliba is my answer. I'm going to hold off Senesi for now and play Botman to avoid a -4 and assess whether he gets another yellow. Yeah, that is the ideal way to do it. It really is. And yeah, Ayan, Salah isn't available to play this weekend, but he is close. And to be honest, it does point towards a start against Man City in 28. Yep, Lenzo, thank you very much. So for those of you with Nunez, he is benched, so be aware of that. Start Raya or Areola? Raya. Rajat says, hi Dylan, bring Son for a -4 this week, or wait until next week and play Garnacho. I'd take the -4 and bench Garnacho. Or sell Garnacho to get Son. Garnacho or Doughty? Doughty. Thank you to Stupaki. Buy Region, Emerson, Lenglet, Van der Ven, or Kirkes. Probably Kirkes, but I'm not a big fan of any of them. It also depends on your Gameweek 29 strategy. Are you free hitting, or are you going to navigate that with hits or normal transfers? That also plays a part. Is double defense with Saliba and Gabriel a good idea? For 27, it's a great idea. Even for 28, it looks decent. But 29, they blank. In Gameweek 30, it's Man City. But then from Gameweek 31 until the end of the season, it is a good double up. It's just Gameweek 30 and 29 where I'm a bit concerned about that double up there. The rest of my defense is Ake, Border, and Taylor. I'm selling Estupiñán for Gabriel, even with the Gameweek 30. Yes, but it probably does require you to make another transfer in defense in either 28, 29, or 30. Barkley, Sarabia, I covered. Who should I bring in instead of Estupiñán? Arsenal defender or a Bournemouth defender, I'd say, is the ideal one. Even Doughty is good for Gameweek 28 and 29, but I'd say Gabriel, Saliba, or Senesi. Palmer or Bailey, Douglas Luiz, Palmer. If you're asking about this week, it's definitely Palmer. I would have 11 for 29, but 2 of the players I had for 29 got injured. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, a lot of injuries have happened this season. Play Leno or Areola? Areola. Estupiñán not likely to start? I don't think so, fair to be honest. That's why I'm open to taking a -4 now. CJ says, who to start? Van Dijk, Doughty, Walker, Gabriel, Pau, Torres. I would go for Gabriel, Van Dijk, and Walker. Start Senesi or Doughty? Senesi. Darwin is on the bench there, apparently, according to Lazy FPL, who are very reliable. Why Dubravka over Areola? Injuries to Wolves attack. Dubravka played very well against Blackburn. And West Ham have been even worse defensively in recent weeks than Newcastle for me. Although it's quite close. I think they've both got the worst defences over the last 6 game weeks. Gross, Neto, bench 1. I would bench Neto. Toast says Darwin or Douglas Luiz or Foden. Who to start? Foden, all day long. Udogie might be fit to play Palace. Yes, we've covered that. Start Leno or Areola. I just said it. Areola. Start Region or Doughty. I would go for Region. Bradley could play as a winger. Yeah, true. That is a possibility. I think they will play Elia as a right winger, though. But let's see how it goes. Thank you, Rajat. By the way, just a one-word answer in the live chat. Well, I did put a poll out early anyway, but just say Gabriel or Senesi in the live chat, because I'm looking at taking a -4 hit and then starting this defender for Gameweek 27. Senesi also looks good for Gameweek 28 and 30, but I would argue Gabriel's better for this week, and there's no rotation risk, or more importantly, no suspension risk, which Senesi has. So one-word answer, Senesi, Gabriel, or roll. Just put that in the live chat now. I'm going to make a move now yeah, before the deadline. There's only 8 minutes left. It's about time I make this and finalize it. Now Darwin doesn't start. Do I do a -4 for Watkins? Yes, yes, yes. I would do it. Powell apparently benched. Would you take a -4 or just start Chris Richards? My defense is Powell, Doughty, Border, Kirkes, Richards. I would take a hit because Richards against Tottenham, I don't expect anything. Bench Alvarez, Gordon, or Palmer. I would probably bench Gordon, but that's with the assumption that Alvarez starts. Start Stupinian or Lamptey. Probably Lamptey at the moment. So yeah, quite split there between you lot. So Gabriel has got a few, but I think most people have said Senesi. Yeah, in the poll I put out, Gabriel did win it. And look, it's kind of a difficult one. I think I might end up going for Senesi just because he's got a good fixture in 30, which does help. My current plan is to free hit in 29. And if I get Senesi now, I can take another -4 next week and buy Doughty and have 3 doublers for double game week 28. And of course, the hit would entail buying Solanke back. Yeah, true. It's just my big concern with Senesi's the yellow cards, really. I do like Gabriel a lot for this week, and even if he... Look, Gabriel getting a 14-15 pointer isn't impossible. It really isn't. A clean sheet and a goal against Sheffield United is definitely on the cards. Start Gross or Solanke? I would go for Solanke. Should I sell Solanke or bench him and start Region? I just start Solanke, to be honest. I think he will start. It's down to a late fitness test, but I wouldn't sell him this week. Darwin or Douglas Luiz or Foden? I'd go for Foden and Douglas Luiz. I'd bench Darwin Nunez there because he is benched according to Lazy FPL. Wildcard 28 or 31. -12 in the next 2 game weeks, so 9 players and 29. Well, in that situation, I think it's best to wildcard in 28, but Durgish, if you have a free hit, why not just free in 29 and wildcard later? The main issue of wildcarding in 27 or 28 is the fixture swings that happen around 30, 31, and buying back maybe a Haaland or a Salah, for example, and having them both in your team structure. That's the main issue. So it's team dependent, but if it's, a question of taking a -12 hit or, wildcarding, I'd rather wildcard there. What about Kirkes? He's probably the next best for me. Then it's Sabani. So apparently Solanke has travelled. Yeah, not too surprised with that, but is he going to start? That is the next big question. What about the Arsenal blank coming up? That's the main problem. Then it's Man City away in Game Week 30. To be honest, I'm not that bothered by the blank because I'm open to free hitting there. But then it's Man City. I'd probably need to take a hit or to make another transfer in Game Week 30 if I buy Gabriel now. So, Sister Parky says League Estupinian starts. Where did you see that though? Be sure to let me know. Put a link there. And look, either way, even if I hold on to Estupinian and start him this week, I'm going to have to take a hit, I think, for defenders next week because it looks dire. I don't think Estupinian starts against Forest. Ake away to Liverpool looks poor. Lascelles is useless at the moment. So yeah, be sure to let me know, Twister Parky, where you saw the Estupinian news. But yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated. I might just end up rolling or not taking a hit now and instead taking a -8 in Game Week 28. Yeah, looks like there's going to be no City leaks today, unless there's a bit of a surprise. Yeah. So we've literally got less than 5 minutes left of the deadline. Start Bowen or Foden? I would go for Foden. I've covered this a lot of times today. Start Emerson or transfer Stupinian for a -8. I think I just start Emerson. Thank you, Twister Parky. I appreciate that. I'm going to check that now. Oh, yeah, I don't trust this source, I can't lie. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like one of those pages that, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Yeah, someone did reply to him, don't trust this leak. He's been caught spreading fake leaks before. So, yeah, I take that Estupinian one with a pinch of salt, to be honest. I think I'm just going to have to take a hit. I'm going to have to do it, and it's going to be Senesi or Gabriel. So let me know. What would you do? The plan is to sell Estupinian. Either way, defender transfers are necessary for my team for 28, 27, and 30 in mind. So, yeah, going for Senesi now does enable me to get potentially 3 doublers for Game Week 28 because I could buy Doughty next week. But Gabriel, I mean, can Gabriel outscore Doughty over the next 3 game weeks or 3 fixtures? You definitely can. Maybe you're right, Twister Parky, but I'm not so sure. Yeah, Solanke trained with the team yesterday and is in the squad. Yeah, I think Solanke starts then, based on that information. Estupinian, Walker, Doughty, or roll? I think I'd roll. If you can start Walker and you've got two other good defenders, Estupinian on the bench, I'd roll. Will Bradley start? I think so. Start Doughty or Pau Torres? I would start Pau Torres. Risk it for the biscuits, says Sefer. Yeah, I think I might have to. I'm not a big fan of Senesi, to be honest, overall, but I do back him to do well in 27 and 28 as a whole. So, yeah, might have to be Senesi in for a -4 here. What has FPL come to? Taking a hit for a Bournemouth defender. Just, it seems really ridiculous, doesn't it? Start Gusto or Pau Torres. I would go for Pau Torres. Gabriel says John. Yeah, this week is the best move, but I'm also thinking about 28, where Senesi does look slightly better with a double in mind. And in Gameweek 30, Everton at home for Senesi compared to Man City away for Gabriel. Yeah, Phobia, where did you get that from? If it's the same kind of source, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. Douglas Luiz or Bowen, says Param. I would go for Bowen this week. Start Gusto or Region. I think I'm going to go for Region. Start Udogie or Senesi. I would go for Senesi. No, I'm just listing what people are saying. I'm not sure if it's true. So yeah, apparently Bradley does start according to Nuclear Atoms. Just be very careful about some of the leaks that are going around. Be very careful with a lot of them. I'm currently going for Haaland there, Lorcan, but Saka is a great alternative. Go for the one you think scores the most points. Sounds very simple, but honestly, if you back Saka to outscore Haaland, go for it. Walker starting? I think so, but that's a think. I really don't know. Start Ake or Konsa? I'd go for Ake. Bench boost Palmer, Powell, Taylor, Areola. Decent bench. I think Palmer is the best one. I think I would save it though. Start one of Ake, Kirkes, or Gusto. Ake. Son on captain. Good luck, mate. I wish you the best. Start Louise, Gordon, Palmer, or Solanke. I go for Palmer. If I had to pick one. If I had to bench one of them, it's Douglas Luiz. Gordon or Solanke, I'd go for Solanke. Pau Torres is on the bench, as Phobia. Yeah, just once again, be careful where you're getting the news from. So let me know, Phobia, what the source is, because some of this could be wrong. I don't want to mislead people, of course. So yeah, thank you to those that have liked the video, subscribed. We are literally just seconds away. And if I have to make this move now, I think I'm just going to do it. Wait, what? It's not even letting me do the move. Oh my God, I can't do the move. Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with what I have then. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with what I have. Wait, what? Wait, what the hell is going on? Oh, I was literally on the wrong screen. Oh my God, what an idiot. Well, either way, it's locked in. I've got either Stupinian coming on for a 1-pointer, Pedro Porro getting a surprise start, but yeah, I actually had I had another browser up with a very similar team, and that's why I kind of got confused there. So yeah, in the end, that's it. I haven't made any transfers on top of the Son one. Probably looking bad for the defense, but I think the best play with Senesi, because I don't expect Bournemouth to keep a clean sheet, is to wait, see if he goes unscathed for Gameweek 27, doesn't get the yellow card, and then Gameweek 28, yeah, he could be brought in alongside Doughty. So that could be the play. Not ideal, of course. That defense looks horrible, but it is what it is. Estupinian should get some minutes. Hopefully he gets a start, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think he does. So that is my final team. If only I could play Gordon instead of Borro and have 8 attackers, yeah. That'd be ideal. But that is it. We are locked in. Dubravka starts. I've gone for Saliba, Ake, Pedro Borro, who's probably not going to play. Saka, Foden, Palmer, Son, Tony, Haaland captain, and Watkins up front. And my bench is Areola, Gordon, Estupinian, Lascelles. Apart from Arsenal this week, I just don't really trust many teams to keep a clean sheet. And with Senesi, yeah, the main appeal is Gameweek 28 and Gameweek 30. So let's see if he doesn't get booked against Burnley. If he does keep a clean sheet, I might regret it a little bit, but it is what it is. I've made my decision, and there we go. No, I don't think so, Abir. I don't think we've got any leaked lineups, to be honest. Top captains, yeah, that is what I said. That was my ranking. 4th is Watkins, and 5th is Foden. De Bruyne is 6th, but he could rise higher if he does start, which, to be honest, I do expect him to. KDB or Palmer? KDB this week, assuming he starts. Ake or Trippier? I'd actually go for Trippier from those two. 5-4-3-2-1. Yes, we're all gone and locked in. Thank you, Kiratex. Good luck to you, John. It is over. Yeah, I know it's locked in. Don't worry. I know that. I have a timer here, so I literally got the exact seconds. So, yeah, I was aware of that. I mean, it's not really a big deal, to be honest, because I'm not really a big fan of defenders. If Senesi gets like a 14, 15 points, I might cry, but, you know, it is what it is. Accidentally started Ariel over Dubravka. Well, to be honest, they've both been awful for many weeks. It's not a big deal. I think rolling was a good idea. Maybe a blessing in disguise. Look, Gabriel, a clean sheet is likely against Sheffield United, but you would need bonus points or an attack in return for that hit to really pay off. Then it's Brentford next week, which looks decent. Ultimately, I probably will take hits, maybe a -4, -8, to get Doughty and Senesi next week alongside Solanke. So let's see how it all pans out. It's ultimately the same thing, kind of weighing a little bit more. I'm not a big fan of defenders in Gameweek 27. Thank you, John Green. Much appreciated as always, mate. Adil says, did Hwang and Estupinian to Senesi and Son, as I couldn't afford some of a free transfer? Makes sense, and overall, you're getting rid of Estupinian, who is quite awful. Tried last minute Arilo to Dubravka sub, not sure if it went in. Let's see how KDB versus Son pans out. Yeah, look, I do back Son a little bit more than KDB, but for those looking to take a -4 hit for that move, I'm not sure if it's worth it, to be honest. So I made last-minute changes. Foden, Hwang to Son, Saka for -4, giving Newcastle players one more chance versus weakened Wolves, yeah? Good luck, mate. All the best. So what, you're starting Gordon, right? And Dubravka. Yeah, I think Gordon is my main issue this week. I think he could do well. He could easily get a return there, so let's see how that pans out. So yeah, thank you to those. Be sure to drop a like on your way out and also to subscribe to the channel. Yes, a fair, hopefully. Josboy Muniz, good luck there, Fax. He has been in good form, to be fair. You couldn't change in time. Yeah, I could have changed it, but I was on the wrong page, basically. That's why. So that was my mistake. But either way, I'm not that fussed about buying Senesi or Gabriel for a hit this week. I've been taking so many hits recently and it hasn't paid off. Robert Moreno says, I've got to go. No worries, mate. Good luck to you. And thank you very much. F1 predictions, Dylan. Just a certain Max Verstappen to win. Yeah, so I think Sainz second. Yeah, I mean, it's very tricky to call. DNFs obviously do play a part, but I think my top 3 predictions would be... I think I'm going to go for Verstappen, Sainz, and I think I'm going to go for Leclerc. So double Ferrari podium. I think Perez will be 4th, and in 5th, I might go for a Hamilton. He did say that he sacrificed the qualifying for race pace, so let's see how it goes. Well, I do prefer Saka, and by the way, the deadline is gone. But, yeah, look, Odegaard is not a bad option. He would be my top 10, I think, but, well, feasibly. But yeah, I think Saka's the one. Tony confirmed the City lineup isn't confirmed yet. Yeah, exactly, so that's why. Any City leaks that you've seen, maybe, ignore them. Pau Torres bench says Razzle, so maybe Konsa starts, actually. Sold Foden for Son, already KDB, and got a feeling Foden will be quiet. Well, it's all about backing your gut, and you never know. I benched Tony. Yeah, that's something I could have done. Benched Tony for Gordon. He's never scored against Chelsea, which is... It bodes well for you, but let's see how it goes. Decided on Bowen captain. Good luck. I mean, I wouldn't have done that for sure, but then again... Actually, you know, I bought Bowen for a family member's team last week, and he got the hat-trick against Brentford. If only I did it for myself, but it is what it is. Good luck, Safir. Best of luck, Venom, as well. Good luck to everyone as well. Awali, thank you very much. Good luck, love from Nepal. Thank you, mate. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you, Timmy. I'm on new triple up. Trippier, Dubravka, Gordon. Wow, I wish you the best there. I honestly wouldn't mind if Newcastle kept a clean sheet, but I would mind if Gordon did well. That's for sure. Good luck, Gustud. Verstappen for the win. Yeah, it's going to be a recurring theme for the next year or so. Deadlines were not the same without your streams. Hope you had a good break, though. Thank you to Stepaki. Yeah, you know, when I was on holiday, I did streams, but the day before or the night before. I will be going on holiday again, unfortunately, from a YouTube perspective, later this month. But I will try to get all the videos and streams out as usual for UCL Fantasy and FPL. It is our year, Ferrari. Look, historically, Ferrari is my favourite because of Schumacher, and it's obviously a legendary team. But yeah, I do think Red Bull will win it. Is this the first time you missed the deadline live? Well, not really, because I did make my transfer. I bought Son in for Hwang. The other move was for a hit. So in terms of, is this the first time something like this happened? Yes, but not a big deal. How do you think Liverpool will fare against their mainstays, Salah and Trent, against teams like City? Well, I would still back Liverpool to get a result, actually. But that's assuming Salah's back. If Salah isn't available, it's a massive blow, and I'd maybe give City the edge for the win. But to be honest, I'm actually Right now, I'd expect a draw between Liverpool and Man City. Good luck, LFC. Yeah, Gameweek predictions. I'll try to go through that quickly. FPL Pat said Solanke passed the fitness test and was apparently right last time, but I didn't trust him because of the amount of followers he had. Yeah, look, sometimes it's a very fine line to cross with these leaks and streams. I just read that word, and sources. So be very careful, of course. Kevin Magnussen will win. More chance of Hulkenberg, who's pretty good at qualifying. Between transfers you make for others and your nan, you could be winning FPL. Yeah. Look, to be honest though, the other team that I'm making transfers for, you know, I do let them decide things. But then, for example, I said you need to make a midfielder transfer. They said I'm not sure, so I just brought Bowen in. And he got a hat-trick, so a bit of luck there. I still like streams day before. Yeah, I think in terms of viewers and amount of questions, maybe, obviously doing the deadline just before the deadline is more popular. Will Saka minutes possibly be managed? Well, if Arsenal are 3-4-0 up, yeah, Saka could be subbed off around 60-70 minutes. We've seen that a lot recently. Arteta's done pretty well in managing the minutes. Don't worry, I feel like Estupiñán starts. Yeah, I mean, even if he does, I think Fulham do score, but I just don't think it was really worth a -4 hit in many scenarios, except maybe a Gabriel or maybe going for Senesi. Good luck, everyone. Feel like I redeemed myself this week after I reported one false info last time. Well, you're just reporting what you've seen on Twitter, but yeah, I think it's just important to say who is the source, who's saying it, and also maybe to put links and stuff. And this is something I just say in general to people because yeah, I'm very cautious when it comes to leaks. NB10HD says, I have Saka, Odegaard, Foden, Richarlison, Douglas Luiz, 0.9 million in the bank. How do I bring Son? Selling Odegaard would be the right one, or Foden. Now, 0.9 million, you still need to make downgrades. So I think what I do, and it's tricky, but I think I'd maybe sell Foden because Liverpool away next week, and then he blanks in 29. Then it's Arsenal in Gameweek 30. So I think what I do actually for you, assuming Richarlison is still, looking like he's going to miss Gameweek 29, I downgrade Richarlison probably to either Bailey. This is tricky. I think, you know what? Foden to Bowen. I'm just trying to think. Could you do Foden to Bowen and then do Odegaard to Son? If you can, then I'd do that and not overcomplicate it. Will Solanke start? I believe so. It looks like he's travelled with the squad. Dylan, what's the point ceiling for Gameweek 29? I'd say 50-60, but remember, if you only have 7-8 players and you're taking like -8s, -12s to get there, that's already a massive difference between playing the free hit and also not playing it and just taking massive hits. So it's all team dependent, of course. Good to see you, Robert Moreno. Singh says the team that had the most points last week had triple captain Salah, who wasn't playing, and vice Bowen. Wow, that's lucky, but fair play. Kirkes Smith over Zabani. Well, to be fair, maybe he knew and he was just doing it for trolling, but triple captaining Bowen is just mad. Kirkes Smith over Zabani if wild cutting 31. Yeah, I mean, look, there's not much to separate all of them. I think Kirkes is my slight preference, then Zabani, then Smith, but Senesi's my favourite of the lot. You think that Twitter page is really bad? I've looked at his page for a few weeks. The thing is, though, Tustapaki, they sometimes delete the post that were wrong. A lot of these pages do that, so, and they're called out by it, by the people replying. So, yeah, no, the deadline's gone there, Robert. It's all gone. Saying the right thing can be important sometimes because I see people blaming someone for writing the wrong player name. Yeah, of course. And sometimes there's a source that is maybe up and coming. You don't trust them yet, and they end up being true, but it's a very fine line. Just a reminder for everyone to enjoy the football and not only focus on FPL points. Exactly that. Easier said than done, of course, but that's definitely the case. Let's quickly go for the predictions, and I'm going to wrap up. So Brentford versus Chelsea, I'm going to go for a 1-1. Everton, West Ham. Yeah, I'm going to go for a... You know what? I think I'm going to go for another 1-1 there. Fulham, Brighton. Oh, man. Am I really going to go for 3 successive 1-1s? You know what? Everton, West Ham, 2-2. Fulham, Brighton. I think I'm going to go for 1-1. Newcastle, Wolves, 2-1 Newcastle. 3-1 to Liverpool against Forest. Spurs against Palace. I think 3-2 Spurs. Luton Town, Aston Villa. 2-1 Aston Villa. Although, you know what? I could maybe change that. I might even go for a 3-1 or something. Or even 4-2. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 2-1 Aston Villa. Burnley versus Bournemouth. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 Bournemouth, assuming Solanke starts. Man City versus Man United. Wow. I think I'm going to go for 3-0 Man City. And Sheffield United Arsenal. Dare I say, I don't want to be overconfident. Arsenal need to turn up. If they do, I'm going to go for a 4-0 Arsenal. I'm a bit uncomfortable saying that, to be honest. I generally am a bit more pragmatic with my Arsenal predictions. I'm always kind of worried when they can slip up, but they should get the job done against Sheffield United. It might be a bit of an easier or a more difficult game than we anticipate, but yeah, something like that would be my predictions. Yeah, I think, 3-0 Man City, 4-0 Arsenal. I think that's what I'm going for. You could argue by that logic, I should have gone for Saka as the captain. But thank you to those for tuning in today. Massively appreciated. We have been streaming for almost 3 hours. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. And let's try to get this video to over 250 likes. And be sure to tune in for more UCL fantasy and FPL content. So by subscribing to the channel, you can do that. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, for all the latest FPL and UCL fantasy updates. And also join the Discord server, become a channel member or patron, join the FPL League, and check out Drafthound, which I mentioned earlier. There are so many different tools there, predicted lineups, predicted points, also player scouting, so much more to identify the best differentials and FPL assets in the game. We'll go through the last few questions here. Darwin starts. It looks like he's benched, according to FPL.Team. FPL.Team, sorry. Lazy FPL, who are reliable. They say Darwin doesn't start. Is it a good alternative to save the free hit 38? Look, that's a possibility. Even 38 is a good time to free hit at times. It's kind of a thing I've discussed in recent seasons. I'd still maybe look at free hitting in Gameweek 34, 36 if it's a double, or 37. We could even get a surprise blank. For example, I think in 32 or 33, Arsenal and Villa, there's a small chance they blank. But yeah, look, it's all team dependent. I don't even rule out 38 free hit as being quite good. First three are difficult to predict, and Spurs Palace too. I agree, but I do back Spurs to win and to score a lot of goals. The doubt in the 4-0 prediction, yeah, because look, with Arsenal, you know, when you're actually confident in them, they let you down. That's kind of a historical thing. But this Arsenal team is different. You know, they do have a lot of quality. It's a young team. They are getting better and better. And Sheffield United are looking awful. But football is full of surprises. Thank you, Nuclear Atoms. Thank you, Lager and Singh. Good luck to everyone watching. Take care. Enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon. Potentially a reaction stream tomorrow. I am going to be very busy next week, but the plan is still to get all the usual content out for FPL. So transfer tips, best wildcard team, and also the team selection, of course. And for UCL Fantasy, the best limitless team video is already available for channel members and patrons. The best wildcard team is out for everyone. That was uploaded yesterday. And of course, the team selection for match day 8 is coming up as well. I'll see you very soon, and hopefully you enjoy the football as always.